What's going on, beautiful world? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. Today, I was just looking at my phone. We finally got into September, man. Today is September 4th. Looking at about 4:27, and I already had 2 cups of wine. Do not judge me. It is definitely my guess's fault. I'm just going to point the finger. Fuck it. Everybody's pointing the finger nowadays at somebody else. I'm just going to do the same thing. I want to join the bandwagon. I never joined the bandwagon. I'm a Dolphin fan. There's no bandwagon. But hey, I got an amazing guest today that has really brought a lot of attention to things I never pay attention to. And I give a lot of things to my good friend Marcos, a.k.a. El Caballo 305. You guys make sure you follow him. It's through him that I met this beautiful young lady, and it's through him that I also kind of got a little bit more in tune with politics for the most part. I've never been a political guy. Everybody who knows me and knows me well enough knows that that's not my thing. But the podcast has brought so many things to my attention that I just feel like, hey, I want to continue using this platform, not just to bring to light things that other people don't have an opportunity to do, but more so I want to also get educated. You know, I love unique people that I come across in my life. That is the whole purpose of the Black Sheep Perspective. And I have one of those best examples right now with me. There's a lot of reasons why this girl stands out on her own for many reasons, and that I reached out to Caballo and I said, hey, I need to get this girl on the podcast, man. There's a lot of things that I would like to ask her, and a lot of great things that she's doing, and she's got a very unique story, and that's how we ended up here. So Linda Cuadros, with a C, not with a Q, with a C.
With a C.
Linda Cuadros. Your middle name, you said it earlier.
Catalina.
Catalina. Linda, thank you so much for coming to the show. Welcome. Appreciate you being here, hon. This is not like we're going to just sit here and talk about politics. That's definitely not it at all. We were talking a lot. Yeah, we were talking a lot off camera. I was getting to know you a lot more. You're an amazing person, much less, beautiful female to bring the amount of alpha maleness, this education, this political passion, this everything. I'm not used to meeting people like that. And it really got my attention. I love people who are passionate. You have a lot of passion on what you do. But we're going to get there. First, let's try to let people get in tune a little bit with who you are, where you're from, what's kind of that backdrop, because none of that politics stuff kicked in for a long time. There's a whole way bigger picture of Linda before all that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where are your parents from? Where were you born and raised? All that good stuff.
I'm from Kendall.
No! Say it ain't so.
Oh, the best. I love Kendall. Well, I was born in Colombia.
Okay.
So, was born in Colombia. I came here in 99, so Miami. Wow, 305 till I die.
You were there for a while then?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought you were going to say you came here at the age of 2.
No. I was there until I was in 5th grade. So I started 6th grade here, Hammocks Middle, and...
What part of Colombia? Not that I'm going to know it, but...
Cali.
Cali, okay.
Yeah, so Cali. That's la capital de la salsa.
Ooh.
Spanish-speaking people, that's the capital of the salsa world.
I like that she threw in that Spanish there real quick, too. By the way, as much talking as we did off camera, I never asked you because we went into so many different levels of talk. So you a salsera?
I'm a salsera.
Damn, son. You didn't tell me that earlier because you didn't want to throw me off.
Yeah.
I would have been like, yo, hold up on the podcast. Let's put some Joe Arroyo on real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I try. I mean, I haven't done it in a while. Probably have to.
Right. Shake off the cobwebs.
Yeah, but.
Fuck you, COVID.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'm from there, and then came here, started 6th grade, and I've been here my whole life. I've been in Miami my whole life, and I think this is one of the greatest cities in America, and I think that, it is kind of like, a melting pot. It is really the capital of South America, and it's so unique, and it almost doesn't feel... It's so vibrant, it sometimes it doesn't feel like you're in America, and I will say that kind of annoys me too, because, you have crazy people in Miami, but it's also, it's just hilarious. The things that happen in Miami, like when you look at only in Dade posts and stuff like that, you're like,
love it.
Literally
only in
Miami,
Dade.
only in Dade,
only in Dade,
like things like that. So I've been here my whole life. I went to FIU. I was in the what I was telling you earlier, I was in the beverage industry, I would say, because it wasn't just like liquor and beer. I was in the beverage industry for a while, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've had different businesses. Had my first business was in the travel, still is. It's been closed off because of COVID, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I'm moving into e-commerce and the online world, and what I like to call like modern tools, or like
Yeah, you were actually helping school me on that. I was literally asking you. Whoa, I was literally asking you, how does this? I almost felt like a dummy. And if anybody out there listening, if you feel like how I felt, then you're a dummy for not asking. That's why I made myself ask. I felt like, damn, bro, I'm about to ask this beautiful young lady, how does e-commerce work, and explain to me a little bit, because I think I'm a very educated man, but I don't know about that. So, you told me about that. Your education is definitely on another level. Let's back it up a little bit. First of all, when you came to Miami, and I always ask this from people who come from other countries, were you already learning, or did you already know English substantially before you came here?
I did.
You did?
I didn't know English perfectly, but I was already, my mom was really smart, and my mom was always coming back and forth to the U.S. and back, and she lived in New York for a bit, like months at a time. So my mom kind of, I guess, envisioned or knew that we would end up here eventually, based on her, experience here. So I went to an all non very religious Catholic school, and we had our English class.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was actually terrible. It was. But it was still good, like the discipline that they teach you and stuff.
Of course, yes. There's a lot of great to come out of it, yes.
I see how, like, now,
how they get people to believe in it.
My life,
yes.
And
good.
not just the religious aspect of it, but the discipline. But anyways, I did have additional English classes on Saturday mornings for a while, so that I would,
because your mom knew in the end picture you're gonna come over.
And also we, it's kind of like, I guess for us in Colombia, not everybody, but at least, my family, they thought it was a good idea to know two languages, English being, the world,
the dominant
one. Mm-hmm. So they always thought, it's always a good idea for you to learn another language.
Would you, totally off topic, only because, well, kind of on topic, but on a side note, does it bug you when you come across, because, and I do want to go back to your statement, which I fucking adored, about how amazing Miami is, but living in Miami, does it somewhat annoy you, bother you, or do something negative to you when you come across Latinos? I'm not going to say a specific Latino. We know a lot of it is Cuban, but who don't seem like they're trying to put the effort in to put themselves in a better position by learning the English language. In other words, they come to Miami, they come to America, they come to Miami, and because Miami is such a pothole, or not a pothole, a melting pot of Latinos, they figure, I don't have to really put much effort into this English language. I'll just do enough to get me by. Does that bug you? Because it does me.
It does me.
It does?
It bothers me.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible. And I think that it's annoying that people also make us feel bad for saying that. And I have family members. It's not about other people. Like, I know, like, personally, I know people like that. It's not that they're bad people, or it's not that
at all, of course.
It's that the city, they're complacent because you're allowed to do that in the city. There's more people who speak Spanish here than not. Miami is 70% Hispanic. We have very little white people. We have very little black people. Right. I think there's more blacks actually than whites. I don't know that, but I know Miami is 70% Hispanic.
Okay.
So they can get away with it here,
But all that does is show, in my opinion, a sign of you. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't care to do much more.
I think it shows a lot. I think it shows that you don't want to integrate yourself in the American culture. I think that it also shows that you don't want to strive for more. Like, I wish I spoke Portuguese. I always wanted to learn Portuguese.
Oh, girl, we didn't talk about that. Salute to that. I want to do the same thing.
So, like, one of the things that I tell people whenever they think that, well, that's racist, because, like, that's racist. Like, white people, whenever they say speak English, it's racist. I'm like, dude, the reality is this, right? When you go to Colombia, and I know this because my first business is travel, and it is in Colombia still. We're just paused because of COVID, but I know a lot of Americans that live there, and these Americans, they don't know a word of Spanish, right? And they still try, and they speak broken, terrible Spanish. At first, they start with like keywords and just trying to, say random things here and there, just learning how to ask for water, how to say thank you or good morning or whatever it may be. But they try. They try.
And effort goes a long way
Exactly.
in anything.
And they're not going to get offended if you're like, well, you need to speak Spanish because you're in Colombia. They're not going to get offended. They're like, yeah, it's obvious. It's a very,
Yeah, this is our country. This is what we talk. And not only
France, you would expect the same in France. You would expect the same in Italy or anywhere else where they spoke another language. That'd be the first language, yeah.
Do you kind of feel like it's un abuso? Like are they abusing the opportunity that's presented to it versus taking advantage of it and making the best of it? Is it a lazy pill? Is it an egotistical thing? Is it an overly machismo thing from certain Latin cultures where it's just like, fuck it, I made it here. I don't got to learn these gringos language, Do you think is that, or is it a mixed breed of stuff?
I mean, it's hard to generalize what goes through everyone's head. I think some people could be like that, but I think here in Miami, like I said, it's going to be different if you move to like, a very heavy white American zip code or whatever. You're going to be forced to learn. Maybe you're going to only find 5%, 10% or 30% of the population that speaks Spanish, and those people already know English because maybe they had businesses, maybe they had to go to school, work for people, so they were forced to learn English. So you'll be forced to learn English. Or maybe you just want to never learn English, and you'll always be, like whatever it may be, like one of these jobs where you
That's the frustrating part, in my opinion.
So if they want to, maybe that's all they think. There are, people may not like to hear this, but there are different types of immigrants. Like not everyone that comes here is poor. Not everyone that comes here, there's in the countries that we come from, a lot of times it's like classes, right? Where you have the very poor class, you have a middle class, you could have in between, and then you have your rich class. So, yeah.
I think what it does is, if anybody's in if you know what it is to put extra effort in order to get somewhere in life, I don't care if it's an athlete, a successful business person, whatever it is, then you see things differently. And when you see that, hey, you made it here and you have an opportunity that not many people have, and then you realize that it seems like you're not trying to do anything with this opportunity because you don't understand a single word that I'm saying. You walked into an American-owned company with an American who's attending to you, and you still said, "Tú no hablas español." That just seems like you're just not trying hard enough, and it's a little insulting, I think.
I agree.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say that I can't speak for all Latinos. We said that, it's a very general statement. But going back to your early statement about Miami, this is a pet peeve of mine. I love our city to death. I think our city is I want to say it's the best city in the world. I don't know how to compare it to others. I've been to many cities. I don't know what bullet points we want to use to compare, but I strongly feel that this is, if not the best, one of the best cities in the world. Yeah. One of the biggest reasons is what you alluded to earlier was we have such a huge melting pot of people. You can't get that anywhere else without going to these actual countries. You can come to Miami and you can see what the Puerto Rican culture, the Cuban culture, the Colombian culture, Nicaraguan culture, the Haitians, the Brazilians, the Jamaicans.
Caribbean people, we have everything.
Everywhere, and it's awesome. And then we have this island lifestyle. If you just drive a little bit south towards the Keys, it's like you're on the islands. They're technically islands, even though it's not.
Even Miami Beach is an island. People don't think about it that way,
go.
but it is. Miami Beach is literally an island,
And then I think people get too stuck on, it's all about club life and fast life. No. That's when you're young and stupid. Yeah. But really, it's just so much more. Hey, if Miami's a little bit too fast for you, guess what? Just drive 45 minutes. Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Hollandale, Pembroke Pines.
But then you also have like South Miami. You have Pinecrest. You have the Grove. Then you come west. You can have Kendall. You have Westchester. You have like all these other areas. Even down south by like Metro Zoo. That's a beautiful area that like.
That's just starting to change too.
I went to Coral Reef. So Coral Reef High School it's closer to that area, and Country Walk and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a great place to raise a family. You have a bunch of stuff down there, and then, you can go south and find other things that you're not going to find north. But yeah.
Every city, every location has its
We have
pros and
amazing
cons.
restaurants. I
But
think
yeah,
we have some of the best cuisine, I think, in the U.S. You know, when people
without
always
a
tell
doubt.
me, without a doubt, like people
Without
are
a
always like, oh, but New York and this and that. And like, I've been to those places. I get it. They do. But I'm like, okay, I can't envy from like what the things that I can find in Miami.
So
I love food.
my travel has. Are you a little foodie? Are you a little,
Huge foodie
you're a
fan.
foodie? Yeah. Okay. We'll get into that. I've only traveled so much, and even when I've traveled, and I'm pretty much talking about within the states. I'm not talking about outside of the states. Pretty much just Costa Rica, little vacation to Mexico, but I don't
Yeah.
even count that. Costa Rica been to many times, but within the states, I've traveled substantially, but just pit stopping a whole lot. Okay. I don't know that I came across some amazing restaurant or some new type cuisine that was just like bomba, like just like damn, that was dope. I don't care if it was in Oregon or California, wherever it
Yeah.
was, hasn't happened. Um, I think that people get to experience that in our city more than anywhere else. I don't want to come off and act like I know
People say
better.
that about New York and Chicago. They think that those are like the
They
biggest.
talk about it a lot. I mean,
lot.
but
It is what it is.
I watch the Cooking Network a whole fucking lot. I just slowed down on the Cooking Network. That's something that a lot of people don't know. That's why I got good cooking skills. But a lot of times it's a mom and pop joint that knocks it out the park, and a lot of times it's a very not I want to say Caribbean, but it's some type of flavor. It's very rare that it's a French restaurant or something from a different country. It's normally an island flavor
Yeah.
of some sort that's going on, that's being mixed breed into this wherever you're at. Minus an Italian restaurant, minus a very country gravy type, American restaurant. A lot of times these highly favored places, they're that, and it just becomes, that's a different culture. It's not to down talk America, but this is that sazon. This is that salsa, that our people bring to it. But let's fast forward again. So you were working for Heineken, you told me earlier, and you were working for them for a while, and that actually got you to travel a little bit.
Yeah.
Name some places that you traveled to that kind of like you really fell in love with, that was really dope,
Well, it was mostly here in the U.S. and it was for work. I mean, if I had to tell you my favorite place to travel, it was not with my past job.
Oh, okay.
My favorite place is Greece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was just posting about that yesterday on my story.
Never been there. What's that like?
It's amazing.
A lot of people don't talk about Greece
It's
like
amazing.
that, so that's a little.
I think that Greece is, I mean, I don't know the whole world, so I can't say, but I think Greece is a beautiful country. The islands are gorgeous. You have like very untouched, crazy place. Obviously, if you go to Athens or even Mykonos, like those are very popular places.
Right, very tourist attractions.
Attractions. We went to a random island called Paros, and it was very untouched, very like virgin, like not a lot of lights. We stayed in a beautiful villa. To get to a restaurant, we had to walk there. Like there's no like roads and stuff. Like
that sounds
extremely dope. Like the in between the mountains, like the sunset was incredible. Things like that, and it's just beautiful when you go to Mykonos and you are like kind of like in the desert. It's the like how it is the islands are desert-like, like the sand color, and then you have like this crystal blue, gorgeous water.
It doesn't match the desert.
That doesn't match the desert at all. And like the water is also, it's the Mediterranean Sea.
And you've been to Arizona. We talked about that, so you know what desert looks like.
Yeah, and Arizona is also beautiful. That for sure would be. That wasn't with my previous job. But the Arizona is also a beautiful place. Like if you can ever have the chance to go to Arizona and like you have got a road trip because you want to see these mountains, you want to get out and like see like the scenery, definitely recommend it. And in Greece, the food too, it's like I feel like they have like no GMOs or any of this like crappy food that we have here. So like the eggs are like, brighter. The orange juice is just like more delicious. You have all this like lamb and octopus and Greek food.
Octopus, oh my god.
The Mediterranean diet, olive oil, stuff like that. It's so good.
It's funny.
It's a fun place. It was incredible. The Greeks are a little crazy, a little rude, like kind of like too tough. A little bit. They're a little rude, but they were fine. Fine, I guess. Yeah.
You look like you just flash back to a certain memory, and you're like,
Yeah, I was like,
oh,
no, they're fine.
I forgave that
Yeah,
person
I
for
forgave that
that.
person.
Yeah,
A little rude, but you know what? The food made up for it, I think. Yeah.
I forget that Greece has all these islands. I'm thinking
Bunch of islands. Yeah.
geographically, they're the hand, right? They're the hand. That's how they taught you because it looks
Yeah.
like it's a hand
Yeah,
with the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
islands.
Yeah.
I know that I've always loved Greek food, and the first time I ever had octopus, and I'm a sea person. I've had almost everything in the sea. I love fish, lobster. I was just telling Caballo, he's like, bro, you prefer shark? I'm like, homie, cut a fucking shark up when you catch it. Yes, shark is amazing. Get a shovel nose shark, cut it into a steak, and serve it. Yes, shark is delicious. We were talking about barracuda, is what we were talking about, and when you should eat it, and anything. If you know about fish, it's just yeah. But I went to this my fat Greek.
Get in the wine.
What is it? My fat Greek? Not my fat Greek.
Wedding?
No, but it was a restaurant. I don't think it was called wedding. It was my big fat Greek restaurant. Maybe I think it wasn't called the wedding part, obviously. And this was over there in Broward County. It was somewhere over there by Hollandale. We had octopus, and it was my first time having octopus, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Just lit up a whole nother palette.
We have some good Greek restaurants in Miami.
Where? I don't even know. Where would you recommend? What do we got around here?
Midtown, there's one in Coral Gables. I forgot the name of it though. It's like right.
Definitely nothing
the
Kendall
roads.
though, right?
No, I don't know, but maybe who knows? Kendall has everything.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
you can also find good octopus at Peruvian places, which Kendall does have. So if you
Very
go to
true.
like any of these Sabora Peru or any of these Kendall delicious Peruvian restaurants, you can probably find octopus there.
When you talk Spanish, do you feel like you still represent and don't be overly prideful about it because you've been in Miami so long? We
Yeah.
know that all these Miami influences play a role. There's so many Cubans here that even though you are Colombian and you should speak a certain style of Colombian, when I say Colombian, everybody out there is still Spanish, but it's with a tongue, it's with a slang of a Colombian. Do you still sound like you're from Colombia, or is the Cuban dialect starting to get into your Spanish language?
I think I have like a Miami language now.
Which is that mixed breed, yeah.
Mixed.
So you can hear you're Colombian, but you can also tell you're from Miami.
Yeah.
Because
Like there's
of
certain words that are just I picked up from Cubans that I'll say. But then there's still certain words that I say that are Colombian.
Right. When you were telling me the story earlier and you were describing how your mom said something to you, I was like, oh yeah, that's the first time I hear the Colombian come out of you. But then again, we haven't been talking all kind of Spanish. Yeah, so it is that. Speaking of your mom or your parents, I know you said earlier your dad had passed, not that long ago. And again, my condolences. Your mom, she lives here in Miami. She's been here the whole time, still here as well. I'm assuming you guys got an amazing relationship. Is that your road dog?
Yeah.
She is?
Dog, for sure.
For sure.
Life.
She doesn't have a tattoo or anything like you guys share?
No. She has a tattoo. Yeah, but we don't
Do
share.
you have one?
Yeah.
You do, but you guys don't share it? No.
No, I have one here. It's just a cross in my neck, and then I'm removing one, so it's like nothing now.
Have you started removing it? Painful?
The worst pain ever. It's awful.
Is that unavoidable? Is that if you're gonna remove a tattoo, it's gonna hurt?
Like trust me, I even called and I was like, can I just get like local anesthesia like pumped in there? They're like, no.
Why? Because it ruins taking it out?
I don't even remember what they said, but you just get the
But you already did
the topical.
Right, and you already did one session.
No, I've done like 4. I still have like 3 more to do. I haven't done them in like 2 years.
All on one tattoo?
Yeah.
Is it because it's that big, or is it because you have to go that?
Tiny. It's just you just have to go that deep.
Right.
It's a lot of dark. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get hair removal. You can't just go one time.
Yeah,
you have to go
exactly.
several times.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done it,
Works
but I've
over
heard.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you regretted that bad, huh?
Yeah, it just doesn't look good.
Be fucked up. I'll be like, come on, Linda, show us, show everybody, show the camera. We're not gonna go there. It's not that type of podcast. Let her finish that wine. I'm talking shit. Anyhow, so the way you got here, the way we met is again through Caballo, and Caballo's the first person who started, kind of getting me a little bit in tune with the politics, and it was more because of the local politics, and I didn't know that he had such a strong feeling towards politics, much less locally. So I saw this movement that he was doing with the mayor that he was trying to get elected, and then I saw him blasting on our mayor. And or when does this mayor leave? By the way, Jimenez.
He leaves now, November.
So
He's out.
November he's done. So that's when
He's
they're gonna
done, thank
choose
God.
somebody else. Yeah.
Thank God, yeah.
So you definitely share the same.
I said, yeah, we're on the same page about him. He's terrible. He's an elitist. He only cares about his donors, which are like 1%.
See, when I hear you take deep breaths, this is how I know that that you're holding back. You're
Yeah,
feeling it. Like
like,
earlier,
you
I was telling you.
understand?
Earlier, I was telling you a story, and you're like, I can see it in you, and I was like, yeah, I can't hold it back. I'm taking these, and I see you doing it now. Like,
Yeah, like when I was traveling and I'm coming back to the Miami airport and I was waiting to catch my flight at the airport, and then I hear his voice come on the telecom or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, no. And it's like, hi, I'm Mayor Carlos Jimenez. I'm here to remind you of the CDC guidelines. Remember, please wear a face covering. And, and he's like going on about his fucking, these things. And I'm like, I'm gonna bang my head against the wall right now. Like I'm getting away from you. I don't want to hear you. So I just cannot stand him.
And the truth is that in order to, for instance, let's say I'm watching a stupid ass Dolphin game, and I get so emotional, even though the Dolphins suck, and this is every year. But I'm like, fuck, why didn't he this? Why didn't he that? And you're over here looking at me like, damn, Wes, like it's the Dolphins. Well, you're not as passionate as I am about the Dolphins.
Right.
You haven't been part of this Dolphin ordeal that I've been going through for a while. And I think that's the difficulty but behind people like myself who was not putting enough emphasis. It's like, man, how do you guys get so carried up in this ordeal?
But it's like everything else. It's like we were talking earlier. Like somebody got really interested in like how to put an image on a TV, and like you and I didn't. Or like somebody really wanted to make up like the radio. They were passionate about that. Or somebody's really passionate about cycling. Like yesterday I found a really interesting Instagram. It's like this girl in Miami. She's a skater instructor for like rollerblades. And I was like, oh my God, there's like a rollerblade like influencer. She has like 32,000 followers and she teaches classes. So I started following her. So there's somebody that like is passionate about something or focuses on that. Imagine if we try to do it all.
That's a perfect.
We can't be like passionate about like
right.
NASA and like the stars and the moons and like whatever astrology, but also into like e-commerce and also politics and also like we can. We'll just, drive ourselves crazy.
What's up, folks? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective, Season 2. If this happens to be your first time watching or listening, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you don't miss another episode. Once again, thank you everyone out there for all the support. Yeah, to me, passion is it's not everything, but it's a huge deal. I don't know that I understand the language of you trying to get somewhere without a certain amount of passion involved. If you don't have a certain amount of passion involved, yeah, you can still have a goal set. You can still want to get somewhere. I don't know how to describe it. It's just going to be a very unfulfilling goal. It's going to. I don't know that you'll ever reach a certain level of satisfaction. And the same can be told to people like us who are so passionate. You're so passionate you'll never be satisfied. You're always going to want more. And I get that. But at least our intentions hold a little bit more water versus the ones who are like, hey, man, if I can just make, 50 a year and raise a good family and whatever, that's good enough for me. Well, you don't have a passion in making a change in the world. You have a passion. If you're really that passionate about raising your family, then you should worry about what's going to happen to your kids in the future, things of that nature. That was something that really attracted me to you from the political aspect and how Caballo had presented. He didn't present you to me. You guys were helping the mayor.
Blanco.
There you go. Boom. And so to those listening, Omar Blanco is he was running for mayor.
No. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please do.
He is a local firefighter, and he was running to be in Congress to get the primary Republican seat for November.
Okay.
We have elections in November, okay? And there is a District 23 here in Florida, in Miami. that seat is up again, and it's currently being held by a Democrat. And it's basically, it was our mayor, our local mayor, Carlos Jimenez, is running, or he's now the primary Republican nominee, and he's going to run against the current person who's a Democrat. So we were helping, and we were behind Omar Blanco, because him and the mayor were running against each other to get that Republican nomination, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I was just getting into with Caballo being into politics to that extent. He explained a little bit to me, and then I saw you guys in a joint picture with Blanco.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I think he gave you a shout out and said something about, hey, follow, my homegirl. And then, by the way, so your handle, which I think is dope, on Instagram, is wake up.
The guys like it.
Some girls like it too.
Some girls like it too.
It's Wake Up with Linda.
Correct.
The name is so catchy. It's a great name, and it's a great way to push yourself forward, because whether your opinion is X, Y, or Z or whatever, it's just you get to wake up with me in your fucking face. I thought that was awesome. So I went to your page, and I'm like, oh, that name is so strong. That's dope. And I go to your page, and I see your videos and your posts, and I'm like, man, this girl, she doesn't just hold her ground, because I'm looking at the comments. That's just, you got people who really fire back hard. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at how you're handling your comments, and I thought that was impressive. I'm like, okay, I've never met this girl, but she ain't no softie. She's not answering politically correctly. No. Nah, she's coming out like, that. And I thought, okay. And then I heard a couple of interviews, and then eventually I followed your site, and I went to you did a program, Vice. Very, very nationally known. I don't want to say famous, but it's very
Vice News.
Vice News, it's everywhere.
Also fake news, but whatever.
Oh shit! Well, there it goes, shots fired. But you were on the show, and it was local, and that's when I got to hear you kind of like joust with other people who were local and politically inclined, and some of them were
like one of the most normal people there, because everyone there was like freaking crazy.
They were mad that you were Trump this and Trump that, and I saw you defend yourself, and I was like, yo, this girl got some fire in there. And I told Caballo, I was like, man, look here, I dig what she's presenting. I love her passion. That's a huge deal. I love her passion. I'm not into politics, but I like that she takes pride in this. I would like to know her story. I'd like to know, how did she get here, and what's going on. And that's kind of how we got to where we're at right now. So let's bring people into that. Let's now go through that little, How did you get into politics? I know the story. I heard it. I thought it was fucking pretty dope. Mm-hmm. Give us a little crunch, explanation of how you went from working for Heineken, doing memes, where that's going, and then going to where you're at right now. Because you do have a good platform, Linda. Mm-hmm. You do.
So, long story short, I was a Democrat. I was a registered Democrat. I was a huge Obama supporter. I was not like these psycho liberals now that are like gender confused and they don't think, they're like delusional. I wasn't into that type of stuff, but I naturally thought that as an immigrant or whatever, like the Democrats were like the party of the people and whatnot, and I was under that spell for a while. In the 2016 elections, I voted for Hillary. I wasn't passionate about her. I wasn't like a Hillary girl or whatever the hell. I just thought that was like
the best option.
I was ignorant, I guess you could say, and
very common thing, right? People vote for, if they don't know any better, they just vote for the best option.
Yeah, and I think I was also misinformed, and whether people agree with it or not, it's a fact that Americans have been fed propaganda for many years. I'm talking about many years in the making. So long story short, I did that, and I started I've always been very passionate about world events, and I guess you could say a little bit of history, not too much. I'm not a crazy nerd, but also international. I have a background in international business, right? It's my degree. So I was always interested in like corporations. Okay, I was always interested in like corporations, like ethical business or, international business, which ties into politics, because if you do trade agreements and things internationally between countries, politics ties in, right? So I was kind of into that stuff. Like I knew how much of a threat China has been to our country for many years. When I was in college, we were talking about China, how they devalue their currency, like many things. Um, but not understanding the American system. I didn't understand the American system. So many things that I didn't know. Anyways, come 2016 election, this whole Donald Trump blows up. He's a racist Nazi, end of the world, new coming of Hitler, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I started getting more into politics. I was trying to be like, I was being one of these annoying liberals on Facebook, writing about Trump. Look, he did this, he did this, he did that. I was one of those people, but I wasn't into activism, and this was not a thing. I wasn't really posting my own content or anything. It was just like
Stirring shit up, kind of
right.
like trolling, a little
Yeah,
bit to the
but more
extent.
like resharing what I thought was like
Okay, there you go. It makes sense.
legitimate information.
Okay.
Long story short is that happened. But then I started noticing how biased the media was, because the media is the enemy of the American people. Like
100%,
like
100% agree with
once
that.
you like, the first thing you got to do to like become aware and kind of break free from our matrix, if you want to call it that way, is getting through the American media propaganda. Once you do that, it's going to become a lot easier for you to know how they manipulate us into certain situations and stuff like that, and how we've been played for many years. So
Let me pause you real quick for
Okay.
for the layman's people
Yeah.
who kind of understand
There's
what
a
you
lot of
said. Yeah, go right ahead. Kind of, they definitely understand what you just said, but I just want to make sure it's a little bit more clear. So when you say get through the media part,
Yeah.
not trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm insinuating, are you referring to stop letting the media influence your decisions, your thoughts, your whatever? In other words, shut the media off for the most part,
Yeah.
because they are misleading you in some shape or form.
Right.
Forget about liberal,
Right.
whatever it is, what side, doesn't matter. The media is very misleading, period.
Right.
So you need to, you're recommending that if you have any hope of seeing more for what it really
Yeah.
is, you got to cut that off.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of people always are like, people that don't like my opinion. So, what do you watch Fox News? Like, no, I don't have TV at all. I don't have TV. I just don't. I don't have. The only thing I have is little antenna, and that gets me like local channels. My mom comes over; she watches Univision and one of these channels, but I don't watch like TV at all. Every once in a while, I will tell you this: I will watch Tucker Carlson every once in a while on YouTube, clips, 10-minute clips that my friends send me. You should watch this. This is what he said. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I agree with that. But as far as like me being a mainstream media consumer, I'm not. So that's the first step to deprogramming.
I like that, deprogramming.
Deprogramming.
Great term there.
So you deprogram by shutting off the media and understanding that it's all from the same corporations. They have an agenda, they have investors. It's a corporation. And they push what they want us to see. If they want us to see there's a race war, we're going to see it. If they want us to see that the world is ending, whatever, we're going to see it. If they were pushing positive messages, where we would see that. Let's say that they were creating, even if they were creating a fake world, we don't want that. But I'm saying, let's say they were of whatever it may be, just a fake,
some utopia
world.
Yeah, exactly.
We would see it and we'd be like, oh my God, we really do live, we are going to get whatever it may be. But they don't do that. So that was my first step in deprogramming. It was shutting off the media, understanding they were being so biased. And I always give this example to people. I said one time, Donald Trump, this was like one of my moments of clarity. I had many moments of clarity, but there was this one time that Donald Trump nominated a female. Her name is Cynthia Halper, I believe. Don't quote me. I know her first name is Cynthia. I believe her last name is Halper, to be the head of the CIA.
Oh,
first time
I never heard
a
that.
female was leading the agency of the CIA.
Did she get it? She got it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she still is. She could be. I think she still is. This was 3 years ago, I think. And I see liberals and I see the media and they're pissed. And I'm like, wait a second. You guys have been saying for the past, I want to say 7 months or whatever, how long Donald Trump was president, and through his campaign, that this guy is a misogynist, that he hates women because he's called women fat, and because whatever, the grab him by the pussy tape, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this guy is, has his daughter. People don't like, that's nepotism. He has his daughter as a senior advisor. Still a great, he could have chosen his son, but he didn't. He chose his daughter. What they say is his favorite kid.
Kid, right.
Yeah. And aside from that, many other females that have been around him, and now you have a problem with the head of the CIA being a female? Like, I don't get it.
So what you started doing, you started realizing there was just a lot of hate.
This is just a lot of hate. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, and then you go see their excuses. Oh, because she tortured terrorists. Like, anonymous sources say that she was torturing terrorists when she was working for blah, blah. I'm like, I don't really care though. It's terrorists. Like, I'm not trying to sound crazy, but like,
I'm with you on that.
Okay, like American enemies, and what was she doing? She was getting information from Adama. Were you trying to tell me she's a bad bitch? Like, what are you trying to tell me here? Yeah. Like, what are you trying to tell me? So I was so confused, and I was pissed off at that point. And then he was working on making hemp legal. He made hemp legal. The reason why we have a booming CBD business, the reason why CBD has exploded the way that it has, and there's people making a lot of money from CBD, it's because of Donald Trump. It's because he came to a resolution. Hemp has been illegal. Growing hemp has been illegal for like, I don't know how many years. The Constitution was written on hemp paper, or the Declaration of Independence, one of them.
Right.
And this has been illegal for years. If you think about it, it's an actual like American crop. It should be like the hemp plant should be like an American
like the national fucking tree.
Yeah, like and this thing has been illegal, and it has so many uses. Not just CBD. We can make paper out of this. I just told you about that. We can make toilet paper. We can make so much out of it.
It's the fastest growing plant in the if I'm not mistaken, in the world. If not, in other words, from the time that it's an infant till it reaching its peak, the cannabis plant is, if not the fastest, is one of the fastest. It just sprouts. So in other words, if it was legal, you could you can get the hemp purposes, the paper purposes. There's so many other things.
So Trump did that. And of course you have the other side say, well, Trump just signed it. Obama thought of that. Or I'm like, so you're saying Obama was in office for 8 years and couldn't get this accomplished with a signature? So you're saying it's all it took was a signature and Obama didn't do it? Nothing you say makes sense. Nothing. Just nothing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, CBD, and I try to get into the CBD business. I'm not in it, but I have gone to workshops and expos of CBD
to learn a lot more.
Yeah. Like, I've met people from even China that are manufacturing CBD. Let's not talk about those. Let's talk about the American businesses. I have met so many people in the CBD industry, not just the droplets. What is it called? It is droplets.
Yeah,
it is droplets. Not just that CBD that you take. I'm talking about people that are making, like, there's this company that I was networking with, and they're making an entire line for sun products. So let's say a chapstick that has FPF. Then you have your, what is it called? SPF.
Yeah, that one.
Right. Like, this entire line for the sun, and it's all CBD based. Now you're talking about drinks that are made out of CBD. You're talking about, obviously, candy, like so many things that you don't even think about. You're talking about coffee. I mean, people are making coffee with CBD.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump creates a whole industry.
But he's not getting any kind of props for it.
Nothing.
And instead, they're attacking him from other stuff.
And this is also progressive, if you think about it, because the liberals and the progressives are all into, like, yeah, bro, like weed and stuff like that, which we're you understand that, right? Like, weed should be legal. But they don't see it. They don't even talk about that. I'm like, the dude just literally with the sign that, whatever. We just created a brand new industry. Do you understand that? There's industries that have been around, automobile, pharma, food, whatever you want to call it. If you start a new supermarket or whatever it may be in this type of industry, it's going to be very hard for you to make it. It's going to be hard in the CBD industry, but you may be the first of 10 that came up with a moisturizer brand.
Right.
You may be the first. I met people that have farms, and I have a contact with a farm in Kentucky or Tennessee. Like, I forgot, one of these states. And they have a beautiful story. They're a Christian family. They create all sorts of products. So they have products for like men's hair, their beards. They have products for babies. So for like diaper rash, like everything made with hemp.
So let me ask you this. I know we talked about this off cam. I know that I'm still. I made this earlier, obvious earlier in the podcast. I don't know shit about politics. I'm still learning more and more and more and more.
Right.
I want to make sure that those listening, if they're as dumb as I am and don't know enough about politics, give me a quick little separation of what is the difference between a liberal or a Democrat and a Republican. Without sounding like an asshole and just destroying the Democrats, because I know you feel a certain way about them. But how does America or how does the world kind of divide the two? One favors this type of belief, or does one live differently? What is it, without getting into conspiracies and all that bullshit? Well, what is it that's obviously on the table?
Well, first, before I go on to that, we got sidetracked. But the point is that after I deprogrammed from the mainstream media,
right.
I told you I started kind of following conservatives and other people to see another point of view. I wasn't really sold on Trump, or I wasn't a Republican, or I'm still a registered independent. And I was just trying to learn, because I said, these people are BS. Let me look at this. What's going on? What's the truth? So I looked further, whatever. And how I got involved in politics was, she's a friend of mine, and she's running for Congress here in Florida, in Pinellas County.
Give her a shout out.
Shout out to Ana Paulina. She is an amazing girl. She is from Hispanic. She has Hispanic roots. She's running for Congress in Pinellas County. That's by St. Petersburg.
Yeah, beautiful over there.
And beautiful. Long story short is that when I met her, she was working for Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA is a conservative organization, and they reach out to college students and even high school students, like youth. Their target demographic is, I guess you say, like Generation Z and stuff like that, and even a little bit of millennials. But the organization is run by this guy named Charlie Kirk, and he's a very smart guy. I may not agree with everything he says or does, whatever, but he's a genius. And this guy is basically, a lot of his work is he's in college campuses and he's debating ideas. So whatever it may be an immigration, maybe an abortion, it may be whatever. So he's basically debating the liberals' point. Long story short is, this girl, my friend, she was working with them at the moment. She was doing Hispanic outreach. Me and her connected, and she wanted me to be more vocal. She said, not that she wanted me to be, she said, listen, you have a very strong voice. You know what you're talking about. You know law. Because I understood the system, the immigration system at that point. You understand so many things that people don't. Because people may have an opinion, they pull it out of their butts, and they just say, well, I think this is wrong, but why? Is that part of the system? Do you not agree with the system? Or what is it that you don't disagree with? Or do you disagree with it because the media told you to disagree with it? She said to me, listen, you know this stuff, you should start talking. You're Hispanic, you should start talking about what you know, which is trafficking at the border. I said, sure, and I started voicing my opinion on Twitter. And then I opened up an Instagram a few months later, and then that just kind of caught on. My Instagram, as I told you earlier, was it wasn't really about me. It wasn't much me. It was more of me trolling everything that was going on in our culture of politics at that moment, which was people, oh, this is racist, this is that. And, the midterm elections were going on during that time. So it became kind of like a fun meme, kind of like troll account at first. It wasn't necessarily meant to be a brand for me or anything like that.
That was never your intention.
No, that was never really my intention. It was actually to put out more information that I knew that people didn't know. And I wanted people to understand that there was someone like me who had views that were like this. And then I was able to see, like, holy shit. Like, I was under a spell. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And, like, I had to go through my own journey and find the truth and be like, I'm so passionate. I was more passionate about truth than the politics. People ask me a lot of things. You watch Fox, you watch this, did you see this, did you see that, did you keep up with that? I'm like, no, because I don't watch the news. So my information comes from social media accounts that I follow. I'm not that involved. If there was a hearing or this and that, I don't watch that.
I think something that you're exposing, which you're doing it almost indirectly is
Yeah.
You reach another level of wisdom or experience when you're able to acknowledge that, you know what, what I've learned thus far, or what I think got taught to me, what I think I've understood because of what I've been watching, has been for the most part wrong. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And that's worldwide on so many levels, from traditional things to do, to certain medicines, to something that I fucking talk shit about on every podcast. Parents, stop letting your kids get married before the age of 30. They don't even know who the fuck they are. The age of anything 20, you don't know who you are yet. You don't know who the fuck you are. You got to go through so much. How could you make such a huge decision?
Yeah. Well, part of it is too because we used to make things work back in the day, right? Like when we had like traditionalism and stuff like that. And
different times.
A lot of times, different times. A lot of times, you don't even marry for love. It was just kind of like
financial
this is your
security.
or like this is our cousin's friend's son.
Best option left in the village.
Like, this is it. And like but you made it work. And most of those, if you think about it, most of those people, like, a lot of percent of the times, 80% of the times or whatever, they made it work.
Well, but it's regardless, and it's not to undermine those people and why they did it. We understand now as people who have evolved to a different state. We are all smarter, wiser now. We are realizing things, from things that are scientifically proven to things that are traditionally looked down upon now. Like, just we need to learn to always evolve.
Yeah.
We don't. I don't know if we will ever, whether we fucking die off or get hit by a meteor or I don't know what. I don't know that we'll ever know it all. We have to accept that we don't, and we have to accept to keep rolling with the punches and be able to adjust. When you don't adjust and you're stuck on something, you're just that. You're stuck. And
we can know it all. If we knew it all, we would be the creators.
Well, there you go. That's a way of saying it.
Right.
And maybe the creators didn't know it all. I'm not trying to go there, but maybe they didn't know it all.
But somebody made this so perfect. And I'm not talking about our third dimensional materialistic stuff. Like we talked I don't know, it wasn't with you. But like even the way the human apparatus works, the fact that we have night and day, or however he believes in though, we have a pretty perfect creation, right? The fact that we know like certain waters that we can drink, stuff like that.
There he goes.
There he goes. But, there was somebody, I guess, or something, energy, whatever you believe in, that was of a greater intelligence, if you want to call it intelligence.
Right.
That could put the moon to shine at night. Like when you go to Mexico, and you go to Tulum and you go to these ancient ruins and these pyramids that the Mayans built. They built a perfect path to get from like city to city or whatever in the sand. And these people knew that and did it based on the moon. And the way that they did it was so when the moon came out, it would illuminate that path and they were able to walk at night. Does that make sense?
Of course it 100% does.
No, we don't do that. We have lights. We just put lights wherever.
I want to make sure, because to the viewers and fans that know me, I don't want them to be misled like I'm completely switching my beliefs, because you kind of hinted towards it seems like there's more evidence towards some type of perfection where this was done on purpose, and I'm not one who completely agrees on that, but I think we both share. This isn't part of let's agree to disagree. That part's not irrelevant, but it doesn't hold enough relevance to this. I think we both share this common grounds of you can't be just stuck on, not stupid, but you can't be stuck. You gotta be willing to entertain. Hey, we're getting smarter, we're getting wiser, we're figuring things out.
Are we?
Are we? You don't think we are?
Smarter? I don't think so.
I think there's a very few of us. Yes, without a doubt.
So
you're dumbed down?
Regress. Yeah, I think we're very dumbed down.
You're regressing?
Well,
you can't put me in that category, so I would never agree with it.
I'm not saying you are, but as a species.
100%. Yes, that's different.
Species, we regress. Yes. That's my belief.
So that's intelligently, watch this, and I'm not trying to start the whole conspiracy talk. Yeah. That's intelligently, I think you kind of agree with it. That's intelligently being done to dumb down the rest of us.
Yes. And
So
that
someone is
but by
intelligent.
humans.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, not
exactly.
by not
No,
by
no,
what I-
no.
not by the creator.
Not by any
'cause
creator
we are
being
limitless.
yes.
We can think and do whatever we want, bad and good.
Somebody realized a long time ago, hey, this is a group of people, and a group of people can always be counseled because not everybody can listen to every voice. There can be one voice, or they can be the strongest in the group, and let that just continue moving on throughout the years. And somebody took advantage of that, and that's where we're at. And again, I know we're trying not to, talk about all kind of crazy conspiracies and go off the hinge
Trying
with
to
this.
stay
Yeah,
factual and information.
Next podcast, we'll go a little bit deeper, have a little bit more cup of wine, and we'll go into that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. I just want to take a quick moment to thank you guys, man. You guys rock. You really do. We've made it this far. We're in season 2 right now. I got a great line of guests coming up. There's been a lot of modifications and moderations to what we've been doing and working on, and it's just getting better and better. And a lot of it's because of you guys and the feedback that I get, the emails, the messages, the comments. Thank you so much. Please keep them coming. Please spread the word, and we look forward to giving you many, many more podcasts. Big shout out to my close friend Gus from Arancibia Bonds. This brother right here has been helping people get out of bad situations quick, fast, and in a hurry. We've all experienced it, or at least know someone close who has had some kind of mishap occur to them that landed them in jail unexpectedly. And with the craziness going on in our world today, with the continuous changes of rules and regulations, why not have one of the most reliable bondsmen in the state of Florida on your side? Feel free to reach out to my brother Gus from Arancibia Bondsman. Now let's get back to the podcast. I want people to hear this. That when we were texting each other, completely side note, completely off topic, but women are so fucking difficult to deal with. As much as men are, and I'm sure you guys can say what you want about men. I think for us, I think men are just such an easier. I think it's obvious. We're not mysterious. We're not. I don't think there's a lot of fucking magic to us. It's just like, if you think there's something mysterious about us, a lot of times it's the woman playing herself, thinking outside of what she should. When we're as obvious as we are, 9 times out of 10 we are exactly what you think it is. With women, that's different, and I also think that with women, our approach as men, or even women on women, and this has nothing to do with any kind of sexual thing. This is just approaching the gender. Man, men. I know most men, unless they don't give a fuck, they're like, okay, hold on, I'm talking to a woman. Let me reword this question. Let me reword how I answer this. Let me make sure I do this. And when we were texting each other a couple of days ago about the podcast, and we were agreeing to the time and everything, I remember that I said a couple of things, and you were like, why'd you say all that? Like, LOL. And I was like, and I didn't know how to answer. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm just barely getting to know Linda. Well, I'm just barely getting to know you. And I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but she seems so cool. I go, well, next text. It's because, LOL, next text, you're a woman. Boom. And then I put the laughing face because I had sent you a text saying something of, are you sure that we're good for this and for that and for this at this time and that time?
Okay.
And you were like, yeah, LOL. Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's cool.
Yeah, I guess because I'm used to I don't know, I guess being on top of things and fulfilling that. I was like, yeah, of course. I'm not going to sell you out if I already committed to it. Then
you're kind of complimenting what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Good for you. Applause to you. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I gave you a compliment earlier on about you had mentioned somebody who said something, and it was a flattering comment no matter what, what they did and asked of you. But I kind of gave you a different perspective of it. I was like, hey, you're right about that, but this is really just more of a flattering comment that you're just trying to say that you're not just cool because of X, Y, and Z. You're cool because it is. And you just don't see it like that. And that's humble. That's great, And it's, anyhow, I was just thinking, man, as a woman, and a woman of your demeanor, your alpha maleness, your political views, your passion. You're Colombian. That's a whole nother. You got people who run away from you just when they hear you're Colombian. Mm-hmm. See or no?
Or to me.
There you go. Very, very true. Touche on that one. That was a really good one. I'm glad you said that. But I guess the reason I was talking about that because off cam. I thought about the text that I had sent you. And anyways, when trying to word things with you guys, you know, we kind of tend to tiptoe a little bit. And I caught myself doing that earlier during the podcast. So we talked about where you got and where you're at right now. Now, you built this big following now, unexpectedly.
Yes.
You said earlier, wasn't your intention. It was more not a gag. It was more of a trolling, more of having fun. And in that process, you're kind of not finding yourself. That's too strong of a term. But you were learning more about what you were feeling and believing. And the more you realize, damn, I've been lied to this long.
Yeah.
I see what's going on here, but I realize that this is actually false news because I don't believe in news like that. So I went deeper than the average person does to verify that that's false news. Yeah. Now I realize what's actually the truth. And because I realized that truth, now my opinion is changing a little bit. And that's what started happening with you from Obama to Trump. And we talked about it earlier. You went from already a great following of about 20,000 followers. And that was just you not having fun, but, you know, kind of, sort of. You became more passionate about it. You saw more that you didn't see before. And then here we are months later. You're 60,000 followers deep. It keeps growing. You know it's growing. You realize not that you have this power, but you now have this bigger influence than what you thought you did. You're starting to make bigger moves, not in any wrong direction. You just went, and I want to ask you about that. You just went to the White House. Not many people go to the White House lawn, White House, Washington, D.C., whatever. You actually went there, and you went there during some tough-ass motherfucking times. Yeah. And you put some videos that I actually laughed my ass off about because you were pointing out somebody who was saying some radical shit there. Tell us a little bit about now that we're fast forward. Here you are where you're at. What made you want to go to the White House? What not what took you, but now you're at this way more passionate place in life where you're going to the fucking White House and you're doing a lot more than just making fun and dropping memes. You know, this is a bigger deal.
Activism.
There you go. Beautifully said.
Activism.
Take us through that.
So it was just, you know, my Instagram was more, like you said, of a fun trolling page against, I won't say against, but it was against the Democratic establishment, and not necessarily like the people, but more of the politicians and the establishment overall, the mainstream media. For sure, my biggest hit was against the fake news, and just kind of like dismantling what they would say. So they'd say this, I'm like, no, that's not really how it is. It's really this. But it kept growing because I kept networking with people, and then I guess I had a strong voice, and my opinions were very bold and out of the box, and I was behind them 100%. And I guess I networked with the right people. I decided to get more involved. I did a couple public speaking. I've only done like 4 public speaking events, but it comes naturally to me. And how I got to this whole White House thing. I went to the White House last year too, by the way. It was that was my first time there. It was for the social media summit. So a lot of people may know this and may not, but conservatives or dissenting voices, not just conservative, but any account that goes against the mainstream media or any establishment, even the big pharma establishment, is censored from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, from these mega monopolies from our social media platforms. And they have so much power that people don't realize because it's data.
How do they pull that off?
They have algorithms, and they also have people that are dedicated to this certain department of community guidelines. You know, they'll be looking out for certain keywords or things that you may say that triggers it, and then they flag you. You know, if you have a dissenting voice, or if you say things that are too controversial or whatever it may be.
Would you say that certain branches of social media are run by a certain side?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them?
All of them side with the left.
With the left.
Every single one of them.
The left being
The Democrats, the left, the
Democrats,
liberal
okay.
media. Yeah, it's all.
Well,
on
not
the-
everybody, not everybody
Okay,
knows
not
this.
everybody knows
yeah,
this.
Yeah,
So-
earlier I'd asked you about that.
So
right.
being a Democrat is a political affiliation, and you happen to fall on the left side of the political spectrum, which you may call a liberal, neoliberalism, stuff like that. If you get more left, you're going to get to the more socialist. Obviously, if you go all the way down there, you're going to talk about communism and stuff like that. And that happens to be where most of these social media corporations stand. You know, the guy from Twitter, Jack Dorsey, he's a liberal. They're all in the majority of them are in San Francisco. Mark Zuckerberg, he's a liberal. He's, you know, the founder of Facebook and owner of Instagram.
Right, yeah,
as
they
well.
bought Instagram.
And
yeah.
then, you know, they all are. So even these platforms like Shopify, Etsy, like other networks that are for merchandise purposes or e-commerce and stuff like that, they are also have these liberal ideas, so they shut down discerning voices. So we'll get to that in a bit,
Okay.
but I just want to, like, there's
Right.
so much to talk about and it's so fun.
Right.
But I just want to, you know, so I was censored from Twitter. I'm banned from Twitter. And we can talk about that later. But the point is that I was invited to, at this point, I already knew people, and, you know, I was going to events
Network's
and I was
big, yeah.
networking.
Right.
And people knew what was going on Twitter. I was still not banned from Twitter then, but I had already had 2 strikes or whatever. And I ended up going into social media.
Did they tell you that? Sorry to cut you off. Did they tell you that
They
you
tell
pretty much had 2 strikes?
Yeah. Like that.
I don't have a Twitter account, and I never heard about that.
Not
Wow.
exactly on that. And we can get to this whole social media
Right.
aspect of it. I'm guru at this stuff. But point is that through my network, and I knew political associations that are with Hispanic people on the right or conservatives, whatever. And we my friends and I, a couple of us, end up being invited to go to a summit that the president is hosting for social media. And the whole thing was bringing attention and inviting people like myself who are influencers, political influencers, activists, to go to the White House because we were being censored. And he knows this, and he's done some things about it. And it was to bring attention to that, because the reality is that Trump, one of the main ways and one of the biggest reasons of why he won and what makes him so great, not just politically, is because he's a brand and he understands. He had the best team marketing for him, and he had an army of digital soldiers online, people that were so passionate about him, about his brand, his policies, that would put out information about him. So he knows that his supporters are online. He knows that his supporters are active in social media, and he knows that his supporters are being censored. So he's very smart, and he says, I got to do something for these people. These are my dogs.
Right.
One of these people.
It's hitting him home. It's literally affecting him.
Even if one of his followers, let's say, has 30,000 followers, that's still 30,000 people that they can influence to like Donald Trump or for his policies or whatever it may be. So he really takes care of us. He really takes care of his digital soldiers, of his army of supporters, whether we may all agree or not. Not everybody has the same ideology. That's one thing too. We all don't agree. It's not about that. We just all put out different types of information that is not in mainstream media on social media. So we bypass the media establishment, and that makes sense. And we get to you, the people, directly with facts. We don't ask anything for it. We don't work for anybody. Nobody owns us. So I may give you a different perspective or truth, or pull up some judicial file or whatever and tell you, hey, listen, what the media said was this, but the reality is this, and this is a fact, and this is why, and this is a resource. And you're going to say, holy shit, the media lied. I'm bypassing that establishment. And if it's let's say that it was something against Trump, and I say, listen, they said this about Trump, but the reality is that it is this. And here's the resources and the proof and the data and how we back it up. You're going to change your mind. And he knows that. So I was invited to the White House the first time. It was the best experience. The guy surprised us the morning of. I was flying to DC. It was surreal. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even post it on social media. I kept that to myself because I didn't even think it was real until I step my feet in the White House and I get through security, through the Secret Service, and I'm in the White House. I'm not going to believe that I'm in the White House.
Good
so
attitude.
I flew to the sea, and I was like, okay, whatever. I get ready. I walked to the White House. Surreal. gets me in, get through Secret Service, the whole thing. We're like walking around the White House. I'm like, I can't believe this. And I got a thing in my email saying the President of the United States of America, an invitation. The President of the United States of America requests.
Screenshot that shit.
Yeah, of course. I have it on my Instagram.
Put that motherfucker on a plaque.
Yeah, absolutely. Request your presence at the social media summit,
That's
July,
awesome.
July 9th, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can't believe this. And the thing about it was that the media found out about it. So the media and so the word got out that the president was having a social media summit. The media was like, were social media platforms invited? Was Twitter invited? Was Facebook invited? Was Instagram invited? Whatever. And he didn't invite them because it wasn't about them. It was against them. It was about us, the people, right? American citizens who are being censored.
Was that one of the first times? I apologize. Was that one of the first times that maybe not anybody, because I'm sure somebody's blasted on all the social media, but somebody of that nature, somebody of that, a position to really turn it on them? Like, I know not just a president, but that's a big deal. Was he like was he one of the first to do it?
Yeah, he's pretty much the first president to go against the mainstream media establishment and really call it how it is. And that's why we love him and we support him, because he's for us, not for them. So he didn't invite them. He didn't invite the social media, any of them. So the media found out. The media is like pissed off as well. They're writing articles against us. Like, if you go, and I have them on my Instagram, you'll see articles from like, I don't know if it's like Vice and like whatever, like different CNN, all these people. Trump is hosting a social media summit full of bigots and white nationalists and conspiracy theorists. And, just how they make everything else up, calling all of us names because they're pissed off. They want to make it seem like Trump is supporting all these people who are conspiracy theorists and white supremacists and Nazis and whatever else that they call his supporters. And there's people like me. I'm an immigrant. I'm Colombian. I'm from here. What are you talking about?
As you say that, I almost got angered inside.
Yeah,
because as you're saying
it makes
that,
you angry.
Because I'm thinking, bro, the average motherfucker. Because I've always thought the media is the number one enemy. That's not a conspiracy. No, that's the truth. Everything afterwards, we can conspire.
We can conspire.
But
correct.
The media is the number one fucking enemy. So when I hear you just use that awesome example, and I just thought, man, imagine the average easily misled motherfucker reads that headline, and then if I bump into Joe Schmo and I'm like, yo man, did you see that shit that Donald Trump did? With the social media? Nah, bro, this is just a bunch of fucking bigots and racists and white supremacists. Boom, right there.
Yeah.
That would piss me the fuck off, because I'm like, no, my homegirl Linda's there. What the fuck you talking about? Is that all you did? You just saw the headline and you just ran with that? That's all you did? You're an idiot. That's frustrating.
Right.
That's frustrating.
And that's why I make fun of them. That's why I expose the fake news,
Yeah.
So that's why. That's because they're liars. Because they're really our enemies, and we don't have a lot that divides us. We think that way. We think it because they told us to think it. But anyways, long story short is I went there. I get to DC.
You're gonna come back to so many podcasts.
Absolutely. But I get to DC and I land the plane. I turn on my Wi-Fi and I go on Twitter. First thing I do is I go on Twitter, and the president's tweeting about this. And he says, today I have it says, today I have a very special group of people coming to the White House, like, activists, influencers, to talk about censorship from social media summits. And I have a big surprise for them. I'm going to invite them to watch my press conference in the Rose Garden, where the fake news media won't be invited. And like,
he said it almost like that.
Almost like that. Right?
Of course.
And I was like,
dope, gangster.
Gangster. And this guy, man, like, he invited us. And he's like, he kills him. I've seen Trump so many times speak. I've seen him like 7 times at this point. And every time he's like looking at them, it's like the most gangster thing that you can do. Uh-huh. And this guy's looking at these people, calling them the enemy of the people. Look at them. They all hate me. You're fake news. You're not invited. Like calling them out, like this alpha dragon energy. And I'm like, we're all loving it because they're disastrous and they're terrorists,
This is exactly why I love having people like you on.
Yeah.
Because I otherwise would not share this feeling with you.
Yeah.
I probably or with
you wouldn't know about these things, right? Like not everybody knows that.
And I'm not a misled lamb just at all. Hence again the black sheep. But we need to educate ourselves. Everybody out there, give somebody a chance to teach you a little bit of something that you might not know, and that can completely change your whole life, much less broaden your horizon.
Right.
This is why I entertained when I got with Caballo. He started talking about politics. I was like, damn, homie, I didn't know, and hold on, no. He's like, no, I don't want to bother you with that because no, but it's not a bother. It's just depending on what's going on in my life and how deep you want to go with it. But I want to hear about this. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah.
And he does what he does. And here you are doing what you're doing. And I'm over here getting fired up like, damn, I never really looked at Trump like that. You know, that he did that like that. You know, some modern day.
Me, I'm a regular person. Like, we share many of the same, like, we grew up around the same area. You know, we're from Miami. Like, we're just regular people. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not even a politician. I'm no one. I'm just a girl that was talking shit on social media, got involved, did a couple things, events here and there, got great points, networked, did the right thing. I've helped an event. You know, I've done things that are good for the people. And then, you know, whether his team, him, people around him, whatever, they take notice of the American people and they rather elevate the American people versus another Nancy Pelosi or somebody who has or whatever it may be, somebody that's a bureaucrat.
They want somebody who's going to represent the closest thing to the norm.
Yeah.
And right now,
it doesn't matter who it is. You know, I just happened to be someone that fell into that, but because I took the chance, I took opportunities and I went that way. People could do that somewhere else. Maybe they can do that in comedy, or maybe they could do that in acting, or whatever it may be. Maybe they did something that was a little bit...
The opportunity presented, and they took advantage of it. They used their platform to do what they could.
Maybe they land in the house of, like, Steven Spielberg, and, like, they're like, well, how did you come here? You just came from, like, Pinecrest, Miami. And
watch this. Let me ask this, because I thought about this real quickly and went through my mind when we were... What we just talked about. Donald Trump right now, maybe it's not the best comparison. People listening, people watching, please don't hold it against me. I'm just freestyling off my mind. He sounds like a weird modern day JFK kind of. And I say that only because he's trying to expose the different societies that don't want to be put on blast, starting with the media. And I know he's talked about other things that people can consider conspired, or I don't know. Everybody has the right to look at it how they want to. Yeah. But he's the first one to really talk about exposing these evil entities that are outside of putting America first, putting the people first.
Right.
Do you think that there's a possibility, there always is, but do you think in nowadays, there's a possibility that somebody would attempt any kind of weird assassination, like on that, not JFK, like if he's driving around, but just an assassination?
That's why they don't do that anymore, right? And like,
is it too hard to pull off now?
Yeah, it's too hard because Trump has his own security. Trump is, whether people like him or not, or they realize it or not. And remember, before 2016, everybody loved Donald Trump. Everyone. Rappers, black people, Hispanics, white people. It didn't matter. He was like the American dream, the billionaire, the apprentice, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So like Trump has people, from my understanding, security that is not just from the feds. So when any president comes in, Obama, whatever, they're not billionaires like Trump was. They didn't have their own security before, their own security system or whatever it may be beforehand. Trump did. So Trump has a mix, I believe, from people that
bringing in some of his own, right?
That he brought on his own, and then
that's gangster right there on its own.
So he's a gangster, and like you know what I mean. Like you go to the White House, and the Secret Service are standing there with like these crazy looking guns. Like I can't even tell you,
Take us back to that. So you guys got there.
Yeah. So I heard too is that there's already been over like I don't know how many attempts to kill him.
Really?
Just because we don't hear about it doesn't mean.
Of course.
Happen.
Going right back to the media, right?
So there's already been apparently like I don't know how many. Like when I tell you a lot of attempts to kill him.
Imagine if that got out. It'll just stir shit up, and then here comes this uproar. So, of course, they're going to keep it quiet. But I completely agree. I believe you.
Yeah, so that's that. He, for sure, there's
he's got his people.
He's got his own people, yeah.
So let's bring it back to the whole experience. So you did the first one.
I did the first one.
Which was technically 3 years ago? Is that what you said?
No. It was last year.
Last year, okay.
Last year.
And then this time, it wasn't an invite, but it was you going.
This year was a surprise.
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 Who surprised? Who?
For me.
How'd that happen?
by them. So
Sound like you're connected to the Secret Service right now. What the fuck?
So basically, I have a friend. His name is Brandon Straka. So shout out to Brandon Straka from Walk Away Movement. Whoever's listening, if you guys can visit Walk Away Movement, he's I don't like to say this because I don't like to parade people, but he's a gay man. He's a member of the LGBT community, and he started a movement 2 years ago called Walk Away. And it's basically walking away from the left, walking away from the Democratic Party. And the reason why, very good, really, really good. So when I first started looking into like the other side or like what was going on, you know, with the people that I disagree with, but I don't agree with these people anymore because I see they're liars and fake. I found Walk Away and I found Brandon Straka, and he made a video with his friend. And the video with his friend was him saying why he was walking away from the left. Because he's like, I'm a gay man and I'm walking away from the left because they're bigots, because they don't respect differences of opinion, because everything the president says is wrong. This whole thing, he voted for Hillary Clinton like myself. And I
think that holds, by the way, I think that gives you guys, you and he and anybody involved in your situation, so much more credibility. And again, outsider coming in.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were once that and admit it and admit how you were influenced or misled.
Right.
And now to get to this, I think that holds so much water. And for that, I think that you guys' opinion is so much more credible.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so strong in my things now. I'm like, no, dude, like, you're wrong. I was there once.
Right.
You're not going to tell me that I'm wrong because I was wrong.
Right. There you go.
So long story short is that Brandon from Walk Away, we became friends. I've already done 2 events with him. I've been a speaker at his events. I've done a Hispanic panel in New York and AOSIS district. And we can talk about that as well. But long story short, he texted me recently, like 2 months ago. And he's like, he texted a group of us that are like Hispanic, conservative, or right-wing influencers, Republicans. We have different ideologies, but we're on the right side of things. We stand with Trump. And he's like, hey, do you guys know anybody or are any of you people that voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016? And
he wanted that specific group?
Well, Brandon texted us because we've done events together. He's like, he just randomly texted a few of us. Okay. And I said, but I know him. I've already done events with him, whatever. And I said, yes, me. I'm like, yeah, me. What's up? And he's like, okay, I'll call you tomorrow. He calls me tomorrow. The next day, he says, listen, there's a project that the Trump campaign is working on for people that were once Democrats and walked away from the left, kind of refer you to them. I said, sure, whatever. I didn't really ask that many questions. So got in touch with the Trump campaign, which I've communicated with them before. And I helped sponsor an event here last year for the Trump campaign for his campaign manager. But they communicate with me and they're like, hey, we want to talk to you. We want to hear your story. And we'll go from there. And I said, okay. But they didn't tell me a lot. They're not saying exactly what it's for. They're not saying it's for a commercial or it's for whatever. They just said a special project. I said, okay. And
a little bit more organic, in my opinion. That's why they didn't tell you. They wanted whatever you're going to respond to, you're going to do it without knowing too much and faking it.
Exactly. So they get back to me. We do an interview. We do a Zoom interview with 2 or 3 of the Trump campaign people. And one of them I already knew. It's the assistant to his last campaign manager, who's now like part of the digital team or whatever. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, I recognize you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I remember you from this event. And they start asking me, I tell them my story. He said, well, great. We'll get back to you soon. And then they get back to me and he's like, listen, we want you to be part of this event. We got to film. We got to film you. It's going to be in Florida. I said, perfect. I'm in Miami. Where? It's going to be in Fort Lauderdale. Cool. I'm in Miami. Long story short is I signed an NDA and we did a few hours of filming of them asking me about my story why I support President Trump. Extremely organic, not scripted, literally just asking me questions about me, where I stood with things, real, raw and real. And Okay, so they didn't tell me. Sorry. And so they didn't tell me what it was for. I just signed an NDA. And then I asked them a few weeks ago, I said, listen, when is this thing when is the project gonna launch? And they're like, oh, at the end of the month. So I hear from them again a few days later, and they say to me, hey, would you like to come to the RNC? We want you to be a special guest of the president. Would you want to come to the Republican National Convention?
What's up, folks? Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective, Season 2, baby. If this happens to be your first time watching or listening, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you don't miss another episode. And once again, guys, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, everyone out there, for all the amazing support. And a big shout out to my man Hector and his entire team over there at Driver Shop USA. If you guys follow me on IG or live in this beautiful city of Miami, you'll be able to catch the dope-ass wrap job that was done to my Chevy Colorado truck. Not only did they wrap the entire truck to protect its original paint job, they then slapped on multiple high-quality logo wraps on all sides, so that I can remind those of you who are looking to tune in to the best new podcast. From boats to motorcycles to automobiles of all kinds, Driver Shop USA is continuously redefining luxury. Now let's get back to the podcast.
So they were like, they got back to me and they're like, would you want to join us for the RNC, for the Republican National Convention? And I was a little bit confused because it wasn't necessarily part of the video project that I had done. And it was a different department of the Trump campaign. It wasn't the girls that I had originally spoken to. So I was like, I wonder, they snuck up on you, like you couldn't put it together, like where this was coming from? No. I knew it was, sorry, I'm fixing my hair. I have a hair. I knew it came from that project that I did, but I didn't expect it because we never talked about that. It's not like when I met up with them, we did the video, we did the shooting. They said, would you want to come with us or whatever it may be. So I'm like, okay, I guess the girls from, that department or whatever production of the Trump campaign, put me in touch with these people, or his daughter-in-law, who's the one that was in charge of this project, Lara Leah Trump, said, you know what, let's invite these people to the RNC. Let's just extend an invitation. They're Americans. They helped us with these projects. They have special stories, and we want them there. And so let's have them. So I told them, sure. But then they were kind of slacking on email.
And I said,
yeah. And I was like, hey, I'm just following up. And it was like 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks before the RNC. And I was following up. And they're like, yeah, we'll send you the details. And they're like a week before. I was like, hey, I just got to know because I need to make my schedule for next week. And I work. I got things to do. They got back to me and they said, oh, never mind. That part of the program or whatever, it's canceled, or we're not going to do that anymore. They worded it strangely.
Okay.
We're not going to do that anymore, but if you're in the D.C. area, we would love to invite you to watch the president's speech when he accepts the nomination to be the Republican nominee. I'm not in the D.C. area, so I was like, I'm not going to fly there just to go to the speech. I got things to do, whatever. And then that was 5 days before the RNC. The RNC started on a Monday, and they told me this the Saturday or Monday before, the week before. So I just, at that point I was like, I'm not going to go to D.C. I got it out of my mind. It is what it is, whatever. I never had expectations for it. And then on Wednesday, so the RNC starts on a Monday. It goes on by Monday. On Tuesday, I'm at a tea shop place on South Beach, and my friends
tea shop.
Yeah, my friends text me and they're like, "Oh my God, you didn't tell us you were gonna be in the RNC video, one of the videos commercials." And I was like, "What?" And then they sent me the screenshot. I wasn't watching the RNC. I was with my friends,
You
and with my other
reposted this. I
friends.
remember seeing
reposted
that.
it.
Yeah.
So I found out that the special project that I was part of was a video featured in the RNC, or clips of it in the RNC, for a video called Opportunity, narrated by the American people. It was basically us talking about, I came out in one part saying, America's like the last beacon of hope. If America falls, the whole world falls, because that's the truth. And it's basically like real Americans narrating or talking about how this is the land of opportunity. So I find this out. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, they didn't tell me this is what it was going to be. So, it was kind of a surprise at that moment. That was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I wake up, go to the gym, whatever, start my day. And then I open up my emails like at noon or 12:30. And I'm like, I see an email from another someone else.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, Linda, this is blah, blah, blah from the GOP convention. If you could please call me as soon as possible. We want to talk to you. And I was like, okay. So I call him like, hey, what's up? It's Linda. I got an email from you guys. And he's like, hey, like, very nice. We want to know if you would be able to come tomorrow to the president's speech. And I was like, I was told that this was not happening anymore, that I wasn't, not that I wasn't invited, but my program or whatever I was part of wasn't happening anymore. So he's like, well, there must have been some miscommunication, whatever. Do you want to come? You would like, or you'll be like a special guest for us.
Oh.
And I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. I'm like, yes. Like, for sure. I'm like, listen, I got to do things. Like, it's 12:30. You got to tell me if this is true, because I need a dress. Like, you can't do me like this. Like, I'm a girl,
Man.
That
yeah,
means
exactly.
I got to leave within, like, the next 24 hours to D.C., and I got to, like, have a proper dress.
Do you understand what us females go through?
And he's like, look, he's like, well, book your flight by 2:30 p.m.
Ooh.
I was like, okay. So I did my thing. I was working, blah, blah, blah. They called me at 2:30. Sure enough, we booked a flight. He sends me the receipt. I'm booked the next day, 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. departure to D.C., straight flight, whatever. He's like, you'll have someone waiting for you at the airport. I was like, what? So, like, so legit, so they make you feel so special. It's what it is. It's really so dope, Yeah. And sure enough, I immediately, as soon as I got the receipt on my email that, like, I was booked, I'm like, okay, I can go to Zara and buy something. Like, okay, let's go. So
is that where the dress?
The dress, yeah, that's where I got my dress. And then,
guys, if you're listening right now, just stop listening. Take a quick second. Go to Linda's page, which, by the way, I don't know if we've already said it yet. It's Wake Up with Linda on Instagram. Go check out. Go look at this. I believe it's red, but is it like red with a certain tint?
It's like this color. I still have the nails that I got them done. It's like burgundy.
Okay, so she's in this
deep red,
smoking hot burgundy dress, looking real professional, but with that Miami Latin, Colombia, and all that whatever swag. So you guys go check that out. Keep going. So you went to Zara and you bought that.
Zara. Long story short, I get on the plane. I get there. They're waiting for me to have a driver for me to take me to my hotel. Hotel paid for a driver. They're super nice. They're like, I'm your contact. When I get there, oh, I'm blah 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 from the GOP. Like, I'll be taking care of you this whole time. Whatever you need, blah blah blah. I check in, I go to my room, I have like two little things, like a folder, like this is the agenda, or this is blah, blah, blah.
Next level shit. Like, wow.
Next level shit. Like, I have like M&Ms with like the president's signature. I was like, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. This is amazing.
Oh boy.
And then
literally took a picture of everything.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, so what am I doing? What time am I being ready? You don't understand. Like, everything was like going like
super fast.
Like, there was like, I'm like, so what time am I ready by?
Right.
Oh, we'll tell you. Did you get an invitation in the mail? I'm like, no, I haven't got anything. I haven't got no invitation in my email. What are you talking about? Oh, you were supposed. And I was like, wait, am I okay? Like, don't tell me that I flew here and I have a dress. And he's like, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're one of our guests. You're a special guest. Don't worry about it. It's just because if you give them to go to the White House, they send you an invitation via email. That way you can fill out your information with your birthday, blah, blah, blah. So you see your record. They know you're not a freaking terrorist or someone like that who's going to try to kill the president. Right. So they're like, it's just for Secret Service purposes. We could have like screened you before. And I was like, okay, well. And he's like, okay, well, just try to be ready by 6. I was like, okay. So I'm ready by 6. He calls me. He's like, hey, just walk to the White House. They booked me at the JW Marriott, which is right there by. Just walk to the White House. When you get there, call this person and then make sure that you're taken care of.
It's so surreal. Just that right there. Say that again. Just walk to the
White House.
Just walk. You literally want me to just walk like to the front entrance, like where those like soldiers and shit are at? Yeah, that's what okay.
And then call this person, they'll get you in. I was like, sure.
Damn, that's awesome.
Like that. So I was like, okay, we walk to the White House. There's a big line because a lot of people remember it was 1,500 people that went there.
Wow. Okay.
1,500 people.
Because this is a big event, obviously. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's when the president. So the RNC is like a 4-day convention, and this, this for the Republicans, it was really unconventional because they basically have merged with Trump. Trump made him their bitch, right? Trump and the Republican Party don't have to be together just because he's a Republican candidate. That's why a lot of Republicans didn't support Trump at first. A lot of them criticized him. Now, he made him, he's that alpha male that said, right. I'm the king, I'm the lion, you guys, this is my, territory, this is my herd, and you guys have to agree with me. You guys got to follow my agenda. My agenda is the best for the American people. The American people stand with me. Therefore, you as a party, you got to stand with me. Mm-hmm. So he made that very clear. So the RNC was basically 4 days of Republicans, like they had speakers every night, and they're basically highlighting the Trump agenda.
Right, I was gonna say that. Okay,
and the Trump agenda,
drilling his views,
and then you have guest speakers that are, some of them may have a personal relationship, some of them were his family members, some of them were people that are political activists, people that are involved, all sorts of people. A lot of them were people that were maybe a business owner. There was a business owner that got her manufacturing back when Trump brought back manufacturing, whatever, from China. This person's business that was really struggling during the Obama era flourished. So there's people saying, listen, for the past 3.5 years, we've had this president. This was the agenda he pitched. This is what we elected him for in 2016. This is where we are now, and this is how we have this is why we're better because of this, and this is why we will be better because of this. And the incredible thing is you actually had Democrats, black Democrats, that are against the Democratic Party now. They're like, we've been long like Democrats, and because of how they are now, they have turned socialist. They're doing X, Y, and Z. We support President Trump. We've gotten death threats. They've told us to abandon the party. The Democrats are they've shunned us from the party, but we stand.
Did they go public with this?
Trump. Yeah, of course, they went public with this. Yeah, you can still see it. But long story short is that there was a lot of people. There was people like myself who were just the regular Americans. There was his family. You have senators, you have governors, you have a lot of people there, a lot of important people there too. And there's this whole line. I call someone in the front. That person gets me in. And I skipped the whole line. They treated me like literally like special guest of the president. That's what they told me. They said, when you get there, you call blah, blah, blah. You're a special guest of the president. They'll take you to your seat. They'll take care of you. So I was like, what? Like, because everything was like happening there. Like, there was, sometimes you do things and you like expect them. Okay, I bought a ticket to Ultra. It's
right.
VIP.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to go to the VIP section.
Yes.
It's going to be fun. Whatever. That's it. But this is like,
this is on a give to no basis.
Yeah, this is like, what, like what? I'm flying tomorrow. What? I'm getting here.
Right.
What? Call someone. I'm a special guest to the president. I have a chauffeur. What are you talking? Like, it's absurd. So
what a great experience.
It's the best experience ever. So
you get your seat.
I get my seat. I'm like row 7, literally row 7. So his staff, the way that it's a stage, and then on the stage is his family. The first like 10 rows are people that are in his administration. It could be the Secretary of Labor, Secretary of State. You have the Secretary of Housing, blah, blah, blah. Maybe some Congress people, whatever. Not even Congress people, like just people that are in part of his administration are there, and his special guests. Special guests being Americans that he is going to talk about during his speech, or Americans in this case like myself that were featured in his RNC video. That was the whole thing. So his whole thing was, or pitch, or whatever you want to call it, was that he was highlighting the American people, whereas the Democratic Party is always, they always have Beyonce behind them, they have LeBron, they have like all these celebrities and leaders that are out of touch with people like you and I. Like, LeBron no longer knows what you and I struggle with. He doesn't have to know because he's a billionaire, a millionaire, whatever it may be. Beyonce and Jay-Z don't. you know, so they can tell us to when they come out, wear a mask, be safe. Like they'll never have to go to the grocery store and buy groceries with a mask on, or stand in DMV or whatever it may be, because they're Beyonce and Jay-Z. You know, they can get $1 million just for saying properly social distance, guys, follow the CDC guidelines, and they get sponsored for that.
How long did that whole experience, not the whole entire experience, but when it was said and done, from the minute you sat down on the lawn, it was on the lawn, right?
It was on the lawn. It was on the south lawn, yeah.
So when from beginning to end, how long was that? 2 hours, 3 hours?
No, it was a long time. I was there at 7. The event started at 8, and it ended at midnight.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very long time. There
all
was
these
food,
different people talking.
There was a tent with catered food. Everybody was walking around. It was a beautiful experience, so positive, so energetic, full of hope. You know, the president really loves America. He's always been obsessed with America, with the United States. If you go back to interviews of Trump in 1991, 1988, whatever it may be, Trump is always consistently been the same about his love for America. So it was really a celebration highlighting America. And, you know, the first 10 rows of people were people like myself. He was highlighting the widow of a police officer who was shut down. You know, he had the family members there. Those were the people that he cares about. He doesn't care about Hollywood. He doesn't care about the media. He doesn't care about anybody that, you know, whatever, like all these elitists, as we like to call them. So at the end, he had fireworks. It was incredible. I didn't even know you could do this. He literally, because, you know, he's very lavish and like loud, and he's always been Trump, you know, like this guy, and he has fireworks that spell out Trump 2020. Really.
How come that wasn't blasted out? Of course, obviously they don't want to put that on news.
I didn't even know that was possible. I'm like, what
that's
did
some
I
hella,
just
That's
say?
some hella fucking...
That's some like...
quantum physics fireworks put all together. Like, how'd y'all pull that off?
Trump 2020
in
fireworks. And the craziest part, and I know you saw this, is the mob that attacked attendees after. The Black Lives Matter mob. They're freaking
after you guys walked out. Yeah,
they're lawless, miserable, terrible. They're Americans, communists. They're not even Americans. They're communists. A lot of people get offended by that. Because, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. You don't care about Black lives? Oh, yeah, of course I do. I care about Black lives. But the organization, it's a terrorist organization. And
that's hiding behind
a name that is easily exchanged. It's like social currency. It's cool. And when we were sitting down throughout the program, we could hear crazy noises. Like they were trying to sabotage our experience from outside. They were playing loud music. They were screaming, hollering, talking on a megaphone, just, you know, doing wild things with the purpose of sabotaging the president's speech, with the purpose of sabotaging patriots like us. And then I was like, I forgot about these people. I forgot that there's protests and riots all over the U.S. I forgot I'm in D.C.
Yeah, because you were caught up in such a great experience.
I was like,
and, you know.
Shit, I forgot.
Feeling the pride and everything that was going on.
I was like, when I was looking at it, I was like, what's going on? I was asking. They're like, it's the protest. It's the protesters. I'm like, I forgot about these people. You know, they hate us. So I started getting a little worried at the end, because I'm like, we got to walk back to our hotels. We're going to be attacked. I open up social media and I see on like the news that I follow and pages that I follow, like protesters are outside of the White House, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, we're going to get attacked by these people. We're going to get attacked. So I was with like the people that I knew. I was like, hey, Brandon, I was like, we got to walk back together.
Yeah.
Because
good call.
This is scary, dude. Like, you don't know, these people are crazy. I'm sure the police are outside and stuff like that, but they're out there. No problem, blah, blah, blah. And they made us leave the White House. We came in through this side, right? Mm-hmm. They made us leave through this side, which left us very far away from
your cars,
from our hotels, because we walked there. We were like almost right across. Right. So it left us so far that we would have had to go like this. All the streets were closed, whatever, because of these people that are trying to sabotage our time. And when we were outside, you saw my videos. There was still some people there screaming, trying to get people's attention, saying the craziest things. This is not your land. This is stolen land. This is Rants of our ancestors, blah, blah. Ridiculous things. That's why I troll people, too, because it's humor. It's just hilarious. Like, you're making a fool of yourself. You're a clown.
That was one of those moments where I saw that about you when you put that video up and you had her behind you. But you didn't attack her. You didn't say anything.
I thought it was
you
hilarious.
Put her on blast.
I think it's embarrassing. Like, how embarrassing are you
to be saying that?
To be saying these things and wanting to be such a loser with such an inferiority complex, if that's how you say it. You feel inferior to everybody, that you have to be here hating and whatever it may be. So, I think that moment I was pretty blessed, and I feel like I had like a guardian angel on me, because there was a few of those people there screaming, saying stupid things. There was a lot of police and Secret Service and whatnot, so I felt safe. And then I was with the family members of a cop that got shot 2 years ago in cold blood. 3 young kids. Okay, the oldest one is 24. All 3 of them are the kids of a single mom. She's a cop, of a Dominican, dark-skinned Dominican from the Bronx, and she was working the night shifts because she was a single mom and she wanted to spend more time with her kids during the day. And she was shot in cold blood by some crazy person that hated cops. She was writing down notepads in her car. I believe her either window was open or her car door was open, or she was just leaning on the car. Don't know. Damn. Guy comes, shoots her in the head. She dies immediately, leaves 3 kids, no mom, just the old grandmother. Okay?
That's pretty much a hate crime.
Correct. A hate crime.
Hate crime against a cop.
Correct. So she's one of my followers. I met her there, and when she got up, the president did a standing thing. He mentioned them. The 3 kids are here with us. And then I'm like, wow, I'm so sorry about your mom. So her and I were together, and her brother and sister at the end, along with the family members, the widow and the sons of a retired police officer. His name is David Dorn from St. Louis. And he was shot just now in June, I believe, by the Black Lives Matter mob as well. So black police officer, he went to his friend's pawn shop where they were looting and rioting in St. Louis. He went to help his friend defend his store. He ended up being murdered on Facebook Live, and his grandson saw it. It's a disgusting. These people are like just scum of earth.
How come? How come that's not really blown up that much? Is that something that was just barely came and went? And only if you dig into it.
Media. No, I mean, it's, the media chooses not to portray them that way. The media doesn't want them to, the media sides with them. There's a lot of reasons. This will go into the conspiracy side, which we're not going to get in that.
Right.
But the media is part of it all. The media knows about it. I'm not making this up. You can go on Google right now and put David Dorn, shot police officer, and the story is going to pop up. The 3 thugs that killed him are in jail. Thank God they were caught. Whatever. People would say they were not part of Black Lives Matter or whatever. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. But they were part of this whole BS that started because of Black Lives Matter, right? All these riots and stuff like that. So because I was with those people, they ended up talking to police officers. Police officers said, "Get in our van. We'll take you to the hotel." And that's how I was able to get around. So we jump in the van, they take us to the hotel, and we got there safe.
So obviously, and this was, correct me, 2 months.
This was, what are you talking about?
This event at the.
This happened last week. What are you talking about?
Nah, I'm not talking about what happened to the guy. I'm talking about you going to Washington.
Yes, this was last week.
That was only a week ago?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, one of us.
I just came back from DC last Friday. I was there last Thursday. The event took place last Thursday.
So you definitely feel a different way now. I mean, you've always been you, but to experience that. It's kind of like a whale watcher finally catches a whale coming out the fucking water. Oh, God.
I think I've experienced so many crazy, unexpected things in my life.
It was just one more beneath the belt.
It was just one more, except with someone that I genuinely love and admire. Like we have people like me have like we're like Trump ride and die. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's different because like I'm sitting 7 rows of Trump. Like I'm screaming crazy things like 12 more years, things like that.
12 more years.
12 more years. Just because the media, it pisses them off, whatever. And I don't feel a certain way, but I do feel like, for me, the biggest takeaway is how much he wants the American people, because I'm an influencer. You got to understand that I'm one of the only people that has a platform there. Other people are just regular Americans that were invited based on some sort of situation that they faced and the president heard about, the White House heard about it, etc. But not everyone's going to give this exposure. People may say, well, you were invited because, you have a platform or whatever, and you're going to talk about it. Blah, blah. Like, that's just one person.
Right.
Like, there's people there, like there's people that I just talked about that they don't have a platform. They're not influencers, not political activists. They're just Americans that, sadly, their family members were assassinated during some difficult times, and the president recognizes that. So the biggest takeaway is making us Americans feel special. Like, it's not about the elitists anymore. It's about us. The government and the power is coming back to the people. It doesn't feel that way now, especially during COVID, because we are pretty freaking locked down.
Right.
That's local. That's more local, state, whatever. But there are a lot of things that are happening that are better for the American people.
Earlier we were talking about, way earlier, we were talking about expanding our brand and our movement and what we're doing. And we were talking about, difficulties about pushing out content and social media platforms. And one of the most difficult things is that people's attention span is very short nowadays.
Yes.
People, if you don't grab them, hook them, sink them, everything within 3 to 5 minutes, that's it. It's not to say that you're going to fail, but there was your opportunity.
Right.
So not that you have that amount of time. There's no pressure right here, but a lot of people feel certain ways, think they've heard enough. Let's just say that the world is listening.
Okay.
And you only got those 5 minutes to convince, not liberals, not Democrats, just convince people to look not in your direction, but to favor. Because you can have all the right answers, but if you don't know how to present it, if you don't know how to pitch it, it just falls on deaf ears. So what do you tell the me's, the whoever's, the stubborns, the ones who are in the middle on the fence? What do you tell those people if you had a 3 to 5 minute platform? What do you tell them to try to convince them without getting them too into conspiracy, too into that makes no sense, too into you're an extremist? What is the right pitch? Because we both agree you only got a small opportunity to do it. Not that this is the right one, but what would you tell them?
I almost think it's impossible to do that in 15 seconds.
You're right.
There's no way of convincing someone that may have a big ego or maybe stuck in their ways, their political beliefs, that to believe in something else. The biggest factor, I think, is your ability to know that you may be wrong, your ability to know that you may not know the whole truth and you want to find more truth. So sometimes when people start talking crap about Trump or the media, I say, or let's just say it's the whole Trump, he shouldn't be elected again or whatever. I say, let me ask you a question. Has your life been worse because of Trump? Has anything that the media said in 2016 actually happened? They said that he was going to put people in concentration camps. They said that the lives of the gays were going to be worse because he hated gay people. That's not true. Here are all the policies of things that he's done pro-LGBT. You guys said that he was anti-women and blah, blah, blah. Here's the facts. You guys said that it was anti-immigrant. Here are the facts. You guys said he was an Islamophobe and he hated Muslims. Here are the facts. So, has your life gotten worse because Donald Trump has been president? And I'm talking about pre-COVID because COVID is a different...
Of course, yes. Who wouldn't...
Ball game.
Who knows what to do with such a situation?
We can have an entire podcast on just COVID and the lies and the deception and, the things that are a conspiracy and could be a hoax. But has your life gotten better? Our economy has never been better. People are like, oh, you just care about the economy? Dude, people care about putting money and food in their tables. Yes, I care about paying my rent. I care about having low taxes. Okay? Yeah, I do. I don't want a socialist like Andrew Gillum that could have been our governor to come in and say, well, you guys have income tax and you want to tax us more. We're being taxed right now almost at 30%. And that's not counting your property taxes. That's, I'm talking about perhaps your local and state taxes plus your federal taxes. Now, just talking about sales tax, like we make money, but we also spend so much money. Why would I want to continue to expand the government that way? Trump has cut the government. Yeah, in some areas, I'll be honest with you, he's not the most fiscal or most conservative president in terms of spending money, and this could be argumentative. Wars, has he started more wars? No. Right? There's many things that I'm like I talked about earlier, the hemp situation. There's new industries that have been created from him. He's taken on big pharma. He's just made like insulin pens, and for people that are diabetic, like the lower price, don't quote me on this, but he lowered the prices of a bunch of medicines. He's making things more transparent. So there's a lot of things that affect a lot of Americans.
And at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, you feel like most of the people don't know that enough because of the number one enemy that we were talking about, which is the media is not presenting it.
They'll see a headline. My friend posted a headline today because they're going crazy on overdrive to make him look bad. Well, Trump, right now it's Trump. Right now the narrative is Trump is responsible for the riots, and he's also responsible for the COVID deaths. We know he's responsible for neither. But back in early February, before we went on a lockdown, when Trump said, I want to stop all flights from Asia, the narrative was Trump is a xenophobe when he hates Asians.
Yes, I remember that.
And I have screenshots of that. The reason why I have my page is because I have receipts. So I could be like, really? Trump, it's his fault, but this was happening in January and February because he was a xenophobe and he didn't want Asians here. I have that from the New York Times. So, if you are the type of person that goes to any mainstream media, whether it be Fox News, whether it be CNN, NPR, whatever it may be, to be like, well, this is my proof. This is where I got this. You're not going to get anywhere.
What's up, folks? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective, Season 2. If this happens to be your first time watching or listening, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you don't miss another episode. Once again, thank you everyone out there for all the support. Okay, so Linda, I know how strongly you feel about the political aspect of things, but I know that there's also a lot more things that you're really connected to, that you do hold passionate, that you're very in tune with, and you're trying to definitely get out there on your platform. You know, I asked you way earlier, hey, kind of like that Spider-Man shit, when with great power comes great responsibility. You now have a true platform, and your power has increased. There's no doubt in that. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And you're not doing it by showing tits and ass. It's complete opposite. So you do have that, and you have this platform. And I know there's other things that you're trying to get out there. Tell us a little bit more about the other things that really hit home and that you want to put on blast.
The thing of why it ties into politics is more because it does. So, or why my platform ties into it, because everything goes hand in hand with how the government has gotten us there, because we're not free. And I think a lot of the topics that I was covering, or I've been covering since I started my platform, are about big pharmaceutical as well. Because you have to think of the way that we are controlled, which is beyond, traffic laws or whatever it may be that's done by the government. You also got to think of things like this, alcohol. You got to think of how, as humans, we are stimulated. So things that control us, food, our environment, our vices, what we're addicted to, medicine. So I've always been woke and passionate about everything that has to do with like the human mind, holistic medicine. I was always more inclined to that. So when I started my Twitter, I was exposing a lot of like big pharma things, including vaccines, which is a very controversial, touchy subject. And my platform was organic because if you wanted to be popular, you couldn't talk about vaccines. If you wanted to have clout and have the most followers, the most people agree with you, you stayed away from vaccines. You stayed away from things that were too controversial or that were seen as anti-science, or, it was too contradicting of what the media said.
You put yourself on a lonely island.
So, my following was very niche, was very organic, was there was no, I wasn't trying to do it to get some benefit out of it. Because if I was, then why would I be, how could I be popular? Does that make sense?
Of course.
So
if you're trying to get popular, you don't want to talk about the one thing
right.
that's going to make you unpopular.
Correct. So, you know, I started getting a following like that. And I was making videos. I made a couple videos on YouTube talking about, I told you this earlier, exposing polio, the big lie. Yeah, we had polio. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not, you know, I'm very factual. And so I was showing people, hey, listen, during the 1940s, we also had some sprays of this pesticide or this terrible chemical called DDT. And, you know, where was it that we had polio? Like, what happened when the first vaccine came out? Well, we have 40,000 people that got polio from the vaccine. And from those 40,000 people, this amount of children actually died. It's not like they told us. It's not like, oh, my God, we solved polio because we created a vaccine. No, that's not true at all. You know, how many people actually died from, like, the polio, like, outbreak? So I was bringing in a lot of facts, right? And backing them up with, like, you know, government, like, articles from that time, going as back as like 1940 something, 1950 something, to say, look, this is what was going on back then. You know, what we're sold to now is not this. Things that were, you know, a completely different aspect. It wasn't so much about, I was always, you know, I was pro-Trump already at this point, but it wasn't so much about pro-Trump or Republicans or this or that. Or it was more about that.
Yeah, two were different.
Exposing certain establishments and certain things, and the vaccine was a big one for me. And I fought so many people about it, and so many people didn't want to work with me, or they, you know, they're like, you know, we like the fact that you're a Trump supporter, we like the fact that you stand on this, but honestly, like, the vaccine stuff is a little bit too much, too conspiracy, blah blah blah. And then how, you know, I did start changing a lot of minds because I was different. I was bringing a different perspective to the conversation. It wasn't so much of like, I'm anti-vaccine and I don't believe in them because there's bad chemicals or some, not that that's wrong, but I'm
right.
It wasn't,
but you had a lot more education,
more
information.
So I would challenge people. Like, I'd be like, people would be like, you're so dumb. You know, like, you know, vaccines save lives, and, you know, the same regurgitating points that we've been told. Without vaccines, we wouldn't be alive. You know, everybody died before from this and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, hold on one second. Let me ask you something, right? This is the business aspect of it. We live in a capitalist society, correct? Correct. Okay, so in a capitalist society, we have different products and it's a free market economy. Therefore, there's competition, right? Correct. Do you agree with that? Yes, I agree with that. Me too. Great. That's why I'm able to go to Total Wine, and you had plenty of Sauvignon Blancs to choose from. Or when you go to buy some sort of Advil, whatever, like, you know, for a headache, one of these pain meds. You have Advil, Tylenol, different manufacturers, different products. Correct. Okay, cool. So why do you agree that I should be forced to get the MMR vaccine? The MMR is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, 3 vaccines in one from one manufacturer. Why is there only one manufacturer for one vaccine that everybody in the U.S. has to get?
I've never even known that.
Exactly.
Wow. So there's, what you just said is 100% accurate. There's one.
It's 100% accurate.
Manufacturer.
Correct.
For that vaccine.
Right.
Wow.
They have the patent. Oh, they have the patent, this and this. And
that's what the naysayers are going to say.
Right. Oh, okay, cool. So you're telling me that nobody else can isolate the measles virus and then create other competitive vaccines for it? I guess, I suppose. So I bring a different perspective because I'm like, why do you want to force me to do that? Mm-hmm. You know, I have choices for everything else. I can either wear Nikes, Adidas, Reebok, something else. You know, I want to fly American Airlines versus Delta. Whatever you want to talk about. Even when you go get Botox or anything else that's...
You always have a choice.
Always have a choice. There's 5 brands. Which one do you want to get?
Right.
Whatever it may be. So people are like, I didn't know that. And yeah, that's, well, but they have testing and this and that. I'm like, listen, this is where I'm going to call you a sheep, because now you're just finding bias. What is it? Confirmation bias to fit your beliefs. So you're not thinking above that. You should be questioning why in a free society like the United States of America, one manufacturer has total control and power and a monopoly over one vaccine.
So without going completely over the edge, Why do you think? Is it all financial? Is it all monopoly, or is it something deeper?
I don't think I don't think there's anything deeper. It's not like I don't think there's some I don't think I have a conspiracy to get this. I just think it's honestly all financial. They probably did have the patent. You can understand that big pharma is like its own mafia. So these conglomerates, these corporations have gotten so big that they have the power over many things.
Oh yes, I know.
So that's like the mafia, right? Like that's why the Sinaloa cartel, for example, has ownership over a certain area of Mexico, and they fight with other cartels and they'll kill each other. And they'll work with other cartels, probably in Colombia, and that's how they get their things up here, and then blah, blah, blah. So it's the same thing with Big Pharma. They have so much power. They have the manufacturer, they have the infrastructure, they have everything to be able to create and hold patents and monopolies over certain drugs. It's not just, vaccines is a big one of the biggest ones, but there's other stuff as well.
Now, do you feel like these same drugs that we're talking about, even vaccines being the primary suspect, if I can call it that, do you feel like there's enough support? And this is definitely not rhetorical at all. Do you feel like there's enough support to say that these vaccines are hurting more than helping, or it's too inconsistent where they can completely hurt the fuck out of you, your kid, your generation, whatever you want to call it? And this is why it shouldn't be out there. Aside from the fact of what you just pointed out, never did I ever know or hear that there was one company that did this. And when you say Big Pharma, I was actually thinking, man, let me tell the viewers out there if they don't already know. If you don't know, motherfucker, goddamn, what the hell have you been doing? But when she's talking about Big Pharma, she's talking about big pharmaceutical companies, okay? And primarily companies like Pfizer and who else?
Pfizer, Merck, Sanofi.
Okay.
Those are big ones. What else? I don't know right
now. But anyhow, Big Pharma is big pharmaceutical companies. We're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies that play a huge influence.
Monopolies and many drugs.
Right.
And because when you have a monopoly, and also what I tell people is like, you got to understand that this one vaccine is being manufactured by the masses. So so you and I have a completely different DNA. You and I may have completely different things. You may come from...
Speaking of DNA, you see that shit right there.
You could come from a background of indigenous, black, and white. Like, we don't know the mix of your DNA. What you have that mixture of DNA may have you preconditioned to certain things.
Right. Be more susceptible, be less susceptible.
Right. Things that are genetic. I'm not talking about like modern day diseases that are like made up because of our environment and intake of stuff. So whereas I could have something else. And it's the reason why alcohol may affect you differently than me, or medication or whatever. A lot of people say that these pain meds like Percocets make you constipated. Others say that they don't. They can go to the bathroom easily. Others are like, I didn't take a poop for 3 days, So, what about vaccines? How come that everybody gets the same dose, same manufacturer, and nobody, like, we're not assessing people based on biology, based on DNA, based on preconditions? Like, it's not like your baby goes through like, it's not like the doctor says, okay, we're going to assess the baby, any genetic mutations or blah, blah, blah that your baby may have when we give him these 3 vaccines, and that could trigger something, and then your baby gets this condition or whatever. We don't have that. There's a schedule of vaccines that is made by the CDC. It's taught to doctors through the American Board of Association, whatever, that goes to the universities. Universities teach it. And doctors and nurses and these medical so-called experts, they don't really get much than a book and literature on why vaccines work, maybe the history of it, and the schedule of the CDC. When people say, well, you're not a doctor. Doctors know better. Go ask your doctor the ingredients of the vaccines. Go ask your doctor all these questions. Go ask your doctor why the U.S. has paid. This is something that you're going to be mind blown on this. The USA, the United States of America, has paid $4.2 billion in vaccine injuries. I'm going to tell you why. Nobody knows this.
I had to grasp that real quick.
Exactly. Okay. Over $4 billion. I think it's like, it could be up to like 4.5 now. So in 1987, Ronald Reagan, and you can find this on my page, I just made a post about it to remind people again, I've made this post like 1,000 times.
Wake Up with Linda.
Wake Up with Linda. So if you go to my Instagram, you're going to see a post from Ronald Reagan in 1987. Ronald Reagan signed into, or Congress passed this thing, Ronald Reagan signed on it, and they created something, the National Vaccine, it's like NV, National Vaccine something. So basically what happened was that back in the 1980s, right? Vaccine manufacturers were being sued because people and children especially were having a lot of reactions to vaccines. So they were getting sued. And when they're getting sued, they're having to either settle on cases or,
Right.
you know, they're guilty, so they got to pay cases because people had bad reactions.
And they're trying to do it, sweep it under the rug.
We know this is a fact. We always see that for commercials. If you've ever taken blah, 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 you know, there's a class action lawsuit. We know this. This happens all the time. This is not a secret. There's always lawsuits and things going for side effects of certain vaccines.
Right.
And we also hear about it when there's a commercial for something and it's like, you can take this, but side effects include.
Yeah, and then there's a huge fucking list of just
we know that, right?
horrible life.
So children were getting vaccinated. Parents were suing for whatever things, side effects that they had, and the vaccine manufacturers came back to the government and said, listen, we're losing a shit ton of money. We may not manufacture in the US anymore. We may like, and the way the government sees it is that vaccines are so important because they're public safety. Because if we have an outbreak like we have now, oh my God, you know, look at this outbreak. It ruined their economy. We have to go on a shelter. We have to be, you know, controlled. So like,
aren't they basically saying that if you don't do the vaccine,
you're a threat.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. There might be a side effect, but this outweighs that.
Right.
You can change society with bringing measles back or bringing whatever back because you didn't get vaccinated versus, you know, you might come out with a kid who has Down syndrome or something like that.
Your kid may die, but it's okay because you saved humanity.
So that's kind of
how it is, right? It's a very twisted mentality, and some people agree with it, but then there's so much to it that it's just like you'll never.
And some people do agree with that, by the way. That it's more worth losing that than the masses, whatever.
But then, you know, there's another aspect of it, which is like when the vaccines come around and how do we evolve as humans? We've been here for thousands of years, and I promise you, mass vaccination has only been around since like 1950s, and before that we only had a few vaccines. Vaccines really go back like 100 years. So you're saying that we survived, I don't mean thousands of years.
Right.
It could have been millions. We don't know that, right?
Exactly. We talked about that earlier. Yeah.
It could have been 10,000 years. You're saying that 10,000 years, almost 10,000 years. So say 9,000 years.
So let me be the dickhead.
9,900 years went by with no vaccines.
Let me be
built civilizations, and now
let me be the dickhead devil's advocate that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as we evolve and we get new species and we get new, you know, whatever, new viruses come. And we need to defend ourselves from that. So yeah, we might have got lucky this long, but really it's like saying we're infants. Planet Earth is an infant in the universe compared to the age of the universe. Well, what if, not that we're infancy, but what if we're in this, you know, pre-adolescent stage where here come these sicknesses based upon
we haven't progressed at all. Why do we have technology? Why is it that you're able to go to the bathroom and flush your poop down the bathroom? Like this, you know, we didn't have a sanitation system until 1960s, and that's how you spread disease. Like how polio spread, for example, is how are diseases spread. Right now they have us under a lockdown because they say that COVID is so contagious. It's so contagious that's why you have to stay 6 feet, because just by talking, you know, you could get these particles that are so dangerous, and then you have this respiratory illness. Most of these diseases that they talk about that were so dangerous, that put us in danger, weren't really like that. Like polio is only spread through fecal matter. How is fecal matter spread? Because we didn't have a sanitation system before.
Right.
We've actually
so of course it's going to be spread more.
You cannot say, it's literally a juxtaposition. You can't say that we are more advanced. That we are more advanced and the humans are better. We're able to shower. We have such a good clean sanitation system. We live in the first world. Where does disease spread? The third world, Africa, places like that, because very poor people are pooping in a river where they also drink the water.
Yep.
You know, cholera, stuff like that happens in places like Haiti. So when you start actually reading on the diseases, like, okay, I'm telling you, there's levels to this shit. Like, this will be another entire podcast of like 5 hours.
So then once again, for the longest time, the masses have been influenced to
deception.
think. Yes.
So the measles, for example, they make the measles to be such a big deal. And like, when you look at newspapers from, whatever it may be, 1940s, 1970s, 1960s and stuff like that. Like, even what is this very famous TV show, this American show, The Brady's? What is it?
Yeah. The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. They had an episode on the measles. When was that show aired? I don't really know the date.
I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I'm not sure.
Whatever. It's
had to be 1980s, early 80s.
Right. They had an episode of the measles where it's like, oh yeah, he has the measles. He has to stay home. Like, grandparents and parents used to have measles parties. You know what that was? It was just like chickenpox parties. Like,
right.
That was a thing. It was like, oh, my kid has chickenpox, so he gets. Why? Because if you get chickenpox, you get immunity and you're done with it. So what they have tried to do is you got to understand the psychology behind this whole thing. I'm very into psychology and why humans do the things that they do.
At the end of the day, it's fear, in my opinion.
What?
Fear.
Well, not really. It's also science became detached from God, from like nature, from true science, which is natural science. And what's happened is humans have tried to place scientists and God for a very long time. That's why we see the crazy things that we see now. So humans observed how it was that we acquire herd immunity. So the whole concept of vaccines is because we need herd immunity. So if you get a vaccine, I get a vaccine, I get those antibodies. If I ever get the measles, or in this case, COVID, I don't get to spread it, and then I don't get it, or whatever it may be. You have immunity to it, so you can get it, and nobody else can. So we get rid of it. Great, awesome. It puts the virus to sleep. Where did humans get that? Humans didn't think of this. Humans didn't say, oh, well, this is how nature operates. Humans observed it. Humans observe it from nature. So the way that herd immunity, the concept of herd immunity ever came about, the way that it is, you can factually check this.
Right.
1933, this guy named Alfred Hedrich, he observed that in the population of Baltimore, when I believe it was like 68% of the population of Baltimore got the wild measles, they got immunity, they healed, the herd was protected. So it only took, and you could hear things now about that in the media about COVID, saying like, oh, this is how many people need to get the vaccine or COVID enabled for the herd to be protected, for the virus to slow down.
So it's a known term, okay.
It's a thing. Herd immunity is a known term. It's a scientific term. The way that humans think about it now is they correlate herd immunity with vaccines. They think herd immunity equals vaccination. No. Herd immunity is when you get that natural virus and your body, your immune system fights it off. Because a vaccine essentially is injecting a attenuated virus with other stuff.
A weaker version, right? Kind of?
A weaker version.
So that your body can build the antibodies.
With other stuff.
With other stuff. Whatever that is.
It's a fucking surprise. It's a box of chocolates. You literally don't know. So I'm not telling you a vaccine is going to kill you. Do I think if you go get the flu shot, you're going to die? Maybe, maybe not. Odds are you're not. Probably 90-something% of the people don't. Is it necessary? Every single year they come out with a flu shot, they said it was only 20-something% effective or 30% effective. No, it's not necessary at all. You shouldn't get the flu shot. Why? You can fight off a bad cold? Am I telling you that it's like I said, one or something like that is going to kill you? No. The issue right now is that.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. I just want to take a quick moment to thank you guys, man. You guys rock. You really do. We've made it this far. We're in season 2 right now. I got a great line of guests coming up. There's been a lot of modifications and moderations to what we've been doing and working on, and it's just getting better and better. And a lot of it's because of you guys and the feedback that I get, the emails, the messages, the comments. Thank you so much. Please keep them coming. Please spread the word, and we look forward to giving you many, many more podcasts. Big shout out to my close friend Gus from Arancibia Bonds. This brother right here has been helping people get out of bad situations quick, fast, and in a hurry. We've all experienced it, or at least know someone close who has had some kind of mishap occur to them that landed them in jail unexpectedly. And with the craziness going on in our world today, with the continuous changes of rules and regulations, why not have one of the most reliable bondsmen in the state of Florida on your side? feel free to reach out to my brother Gus from Arancibia Bondsman. Now let's get back to the podcast.
So I'm not telling you a vaccine is going to kill you. I'm not telling you that you should, just follow exactly as I say, but it is a very deep subject, which brings us to COVID. And why it brings us to COVID is because we are now on a 7th month lockdown over a virus that was supposedly very dangerous, very deadly. I always knew this whole thing was bullshit. The reason why I knew it was bullshit is because I've been in this vaccine topic in this world, because I've researched so much of how they have manipulated the humanity into believing that without vaccines we wouldn't be alive. Without a vaccine, your child may die, even though you live in the first world, and all these other things. And how they manipulated certain events, like I just mentioned, polio,
right,
into making us believe that. I knew their tactics already. Once you know your enemy, right? It's
well
like
said.
that book. I haven't read that book, but I want to read it. The Art of War.
Yeah.
Right? It's like once you know your enemy, you could like play them.
When's your birthday? I'm going to buy you a gift.
June 3rd.
Oh, Gemini, my dog. Go ahead, keep going.
So,
crazy ass.
Once you know how your enemy operates, you are able to maneuver around them, even if you don't have the weapons that they have.
Very well
That's
said.
why people win wars. And that's why I knew what they were trying to do with COVID, aside from it being political and other stuff. But once they said, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Because I'm part of like different online communities, wellness communities, anti-vaccine communities, the political ones. And like in our wellness, anti-big pharma, anti-vaccine community. And I don't want to say anti-vaccine because it's about medical freedom. It's about choices. It's not necessarily, I don't want people to say, well, you just want to get rid of vaccines. You don't want to give us a choice. No, this, like I said, it's a free market economy.
Alternative.
It's correct.
No,
right?
in other words, just know why you're doing this. Don't just do it because it's been fed to us for so long. Don't just do it because
question it.
Yeah, question everything, but definitely question that. Yes.
And don't look down upon people who choose not to. Because because you'll end up seeing that the children of people that don't vaccinate it, this is a fact, are much healthier than children that do. So, and I
hope there's support behind that.
Oh, there's so much support.
Backlash and comments
so much
and all
support.
that.
I mean,
those of you guys listening, don't fucking hate or talk shit or all that unless you're willing to back it up. Because I believe that she has all the backup. Yeah, show us.
All of the kids that in recent years of measles, you have to show me, all these kids got measles and died. All these kids got this and died. Had they gotten the vaccine, they would have. You got to show me that, because I can show you kids, even personal friends and people that I know, kids who are vaccinated and extremely sick with allergies, eczema, digestion problems, all these like new world diseases. And I'm talking about like 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, kids that shouldn't, you don't have that. And it's getting younger and younger and younger. Asthma is a big one, ADHD, all these things. And then you have children who are completely unvaccinated and are perfect. And I'm talking about, again, there's a community, right? I'm able to say a lot of those followers that you see there, a lot of them have children that are unvaccinated.
So again, how do you convince these people who are just so is there a chance, or they just gotta, because lately I've been saying that I believe most people just have to run into the wall before anything.
I was saying before, it's about choices. We want to make sure that people have medical freedom for everything else. Right. There's a lot of things like, if you have cancer and you want to smoke weed, why not?
Right.
Why is that my problem to tell you because I disagree with it from a religious perspective, of a moral perspective, of a cultural perspective, and I want to deny your freedom to be able to smoke weed because you're a cancer patient and it's going to ease your pain? Why should I decide on that? So there's a lot of things, and people say, whoa, because it's not contagious. So anyways, let's get to the COVID aspect of it. So our communities, for a very long time, we have been telling people, listen, the way because we've seen how the media treats anti-vaxxers as a threat, crazy, blah, 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 this and this and that. I said, the way the media, it's just like they treat some Trump supporters and other people that are dissidents of what the mainstream establishment say. I go, one day, and I have the screenshots of them. Like, one day they're going to invent a virus, and this is the way they're going to manipulate us, because now it's a lot easier to manipulate it through the TV, through social media, and everything else. They're going to invent a virus to get us all vaccinated and to get us to the point where we're going to be under medical tyranny. We had been advising people, me for the past 2 years, I've been talking about medical tyranny. We didn't know it was going to come this precisely with COVID, but a lot of us have. A lot of us have well documented.
Most people never even heard that term.
Well, exactly. Most people have never heard that term. What is medical tyranny? Medical tyranny is what you're currently living right now in the USA. It's where you don't have rights. You don't have the same rights you had back in February or March because of some invisible virus that is killing people, and the numbers don't add up, and many things don't add up. Because a lot of it is fake, because a lot of it is based on money, because hospitals are getting money, because federal government is giving a lot of money to local governments, to state governments, many things like that, because there's a deeper agenda, whether we want to talk about politics, the elections, there's the agenda of the vaccine. You know, at first it was 15 days to flatten the curve. That's how we started.
Right. I remember that.
We don't want to overwhelm our hospitals. We want to make sure that there's enough hospital beds for the people that are going to end up in the hospital. We don't know enough about this disease. We only know it came from China. We know it's killed people. We know it affects people in their lungs, and it's completely different than the flu or something else. So we don't want to overrun our hospitals. We know it's spread so fast that we want to make sure that we have enough hospital beds. So as a society, we're going to agree to go under a lockdown, and we don't overwhelm our hospitals, and we're all going to be good people. And some of us, most of us said, okay, fine, 2 weeks is not a big deal. Maybe a month is not a big deal. We'll be back by, was it, Easter or whatever? Right. Something like that.
Spring break.
Yeah. So, most of us said, okay, fine, we'll make the sacrifice for our fellow Americans and, shut our businesses, shut the beaches, shut parks, shut schools, universities, our entire lives for this quote unquote invisible virus. We do that. We're in September now.
Yeah.
So some of us warn people about that. And we're like, first of all, the government's never going to give you back your rights. You have to fight for your rights. That's why there's been wars and revolutions, because you have to fight for those rights. Unfortunately, that's how it is. They don't just give you back your rights. They never actually do what they promise. A lot of them don't.
So I'm not saying, look, I don't.
2 weeks, so hold on one second.
Yeah, you're good.
So my point is, we started off with 2 weeks, and now most governments, even our own mayor, and I have it on a page that I also manage called Liberty Miami, are saying we have to wear these masks, and we cannot go back to our normal lives until there's a vaccine. So do you understand that? We went from 2 weeks to until there's a vaccine. We never agreed to that. We never said, we're going to go into this until there's a cure or something that could help it. We never said that. We said we were going to do this because we didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals. But now we know that COVID is not that dangerous. Now we know that it doesn't spread like it does. Now we know that a lot of the numbers are fake. Now we know that most people that died with it, they had other comorbidities, people that were sick, people that had all these conditions. We know that asymptomatic people do not spread it like they say they did. We know a lot of things by now. We know the government has had to recount the deaths. We know there's some counties where they had reported in Texas 4,100 deaths with COVID, and they had to retract it, and now it's 81. Do you know how big of a mistake that is?
Yeah, exactly.
From 81 to 4,100.
Right.
We know that Miami-Dade was inflating the numbers, and the feds had to come in and tell Miami-Dade, hey, what's up, guys? Like, your numbers are just simply not adding up. Why? Hospitals are getting thousands of dollars per COVID patient.
So what of it though, hon? Like what of it? Like there's people listening who are like, okay, yeah, well, I knew that.
Well, we were talking about the vaccine.
So do you think that feeds into that? They're trying to. So
they want us all to be vaccinated.
So it's a way bigger picture into that.
Yes, they want us all to be vaccinated. They've said it. Our mayor said it.
Do you think that it's?
They're not gonna force it. It's not gonna be, they're gonna come to our doors and be like, "Sir, open up. We're gonna freaking vaccinate you."
Well, no. What I was really gonna ask is, do you think that pill is just too hard to swallow for most Americans? I think you do, but if so, why?
I don't. I think if you don't want to accept reality, it's a lot different than me telling you there's like aliens or talk to like something that's considered to be a conspiracy. They're telling us to our faces that is the end goal. This is not a Linda.
And this is something that you've been saying this
mentality.
all night, even when we talked
Correct.
off
Correct. So
camera.
this is not something that I can say, well, this is my opinion of it.
Right. No, this is actually, go look
No,
it
no,
up. Yeah, there's support.
There's support. If you go right now and you either in Massachusetts, the guy from California, our mayor, Carlos Jimenez, said the other day he had a press conference. It was last weekend. One of the, he didn't have a press conference. He had a Zoom conference with different reporters from the Miami Herald, blah, 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 blah. They asked him, Mayor Jimenez, when do you think we're going to like not have to wear a mask anymore? Right? Well, you know, mask, you know, you guys need to get used to masks. Masks are a way of life. Masks are part of our new normal because we don't have a COVID vaccine. You know,
There it goes. Push it into you.
Yeah. And you have the mayor of Orlando. The mayor of Orlando says we're not going to have bars and big venues that are like that until we have a vaccine. So when did it become 2 weeks to get a cure? So this is not a Linda conspiracy. I'm not telling you that they're going to come to your door and knock and say, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that they want to keep us like this until what they find is to be a cure. There's no cure for a virus. You can't cure a virus. So people don't understand. Like, you get immunity to a virus. And right now, the fake way is the vaccine, or you get the virus and you get over it, right? Oh, I can't afford that. My grandma has cancer, my mom, this and that. Like, if it were your family, you know, you always have people emotionally respond to these things. Well, I don't want to risk my family. It's like, my gosh, like, do you understand that people's entire livelihoods, like their businesses are being shut down, kids can't go to school? Like, there's so many more people are committing suicide at a higher rate than ever.
Yes, and there's all kind of higher rates
so,
of,
like,
molestation, child spouse abuse, everything. Yeah.
Right. So like what you're saying is that like we as a society like have to completely, you know, give away with our normal lives and be shut down forever until there's a cure because your grandma may die. So I'm so sorry.
Okay,
like,
so let me pause you real quick.
crazy.
I know people. I'm trying to speak. I'm definitely not trying to be devil's advocate, but I want to speak for if we're going to promote. Hey, question everything. Because at the end of the day, that's what we truly believe in.
Yeah.
So these people, speaking for them, they're going to be like, all right, well, let me question you guys. You know, let me question Linda. Sounds like you got a whole lot of great shit you're saying there, but are you pretty much saying that without being a conspirator, because it's not conspiracy, it's pretty out there, it's pretty blatantly, you know, laid out for everybody. This is big pharma. We addressed it earlier. Big pharmaceutical companies who prosper off of vaccinations because we realize, me learning today, right now, an hour ago, that one main company is the only one or the main one who does all the vaccinations. This is just another big attempt to funnel money into their pockets. This isn't a conspiracy like New World Order. This isn't a putting a chip in you. This is
kind of like the New World Order, right?
Well, I believe that too, but we
said
that's another podcast. Don't do that. That's another podcast.
It is kind of.
It
like
is. You're right.
Order.
You're right. It is. You're right. You're right.
right.
But you know what? The thing is this.
They're trying to install a New World Order is what's happening.
The reason I pause it now, because I definitely want to talk about that on another podcast. But it's because, unfortunately, man, people, listeners, viewers, they hear certain things and they just get turned off and they run. So you're just trying to, damn, man, I really want to reach out to them. I really want to get the message out there the best I can. Do I have to fucking give you a I go empanizado, or can I just give it to you on a cut?
So your question is if this is a big pharma thing to push a vaccine.
Is that the bigger picture?
Is that the bigger
picture? Is that the bigger picture?
No, I don't. I think it's a lot of big pictures. I think that's one of the goals.
Okay, I get you.
I think that's one of the goals. I think one of the goals is to sell us our vaccine. Right now, we do have a free market economy with the vaccine. There's many manufacturers created a vaccine. That's one thing that I find it to be good. Even though I'm taking none, I don't care if there's 100 options. I'm taking none. I don't need it.
Okay.
You know, I'm that type of person. But there is a competition right now, which is good because now you have, let's say, 4 or 5 of these manufacturers competing to make the best vaccine. So you have that, and the best one is going to win. I don't know, maybe they'll choose a couple different options, and people get to say, no, I'm going to get the one from Merck, or I'm going to get the one from Sanofi, or whatever it may be. So that's good because it's free, but free market economy.
Okay, got it.
So I don't think that's the end goal of this. I think a bigger picture of it is what's happening in politics, why it all relates to politics. And it all relates to politics because we had the best economy in the world until February. And Trump brought back the economy so strong that even now that all of this happened, we're still recovering at a faster rate than we ever would with, let's say, Obama.
Okay.
So I think also a picture is, I think this is my personal opinion. This is an opinion. This is not a fact. My personal opinion, and I've been saying this since it started, is that we are at war. People don't understand that we are at war. This is modern day warfare. This is when people think of war, they think of nuclear bombs and
tanks, whatever, soldiers.
Tanks rolling down the street and soldiers. Like, you don't need that. You release a virus, you kill the economy. Wars always kill the economy. Every single time after World War I, World War II, you had a really shitty economy. Every single time inflation goes up and all these things. All you needed to do was release that virus and put us all on lockdown and have small businesses, which are the backbone of America, close down. Have only a few selected businesses like Walmart, Target, Amazon,
the big boys.
The big boys operating. Every single one of those people got rich. Then you have technocracy, which is these technology companies, Facebook, Amazon, of course, Instagram, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. You know, they control the narrative along with the mainstream media. And now they're blaming everything on the president. The president's fault that people died. It's the president's fault that we have COVID. It's the president's fault that the economy sucks. We have a election in November. They want to get us to vote by mail. You know, there's so many aspects of COVID that it's not necessarily just to inject us with the vaccine.
Right.
That's part of it, because technically, logically, if you have a virus, they want to find a cure, or what they think it's a cure. So that's part of it, but it's more to it. The political aspect is a big one.
I know that when we were talking way earlier before we started the podcast, I was telling you about that I've been down certain rabbit holes, you know, and I've gotten really deep into certain, you know, aspects of different things going on globally and things of that nature. And these type of things consume us. It gets the best of us, especially when you're very passionate. And I love that you're so passionate about this, and it's still new. It's very new to you. Anybody who already listened to the story, and I heard the same story earlier and I heard it now, you're very clear about it. You weren't born into some political this. You weren't never a conspirator.
Yeah.
Completely opposite. All this is.
I had other conspiracies that weren't so politically. Now it just all relates because of the Trump presidency, what he's doing, the deep state, blah, blah, blah. But I had other conspiracies.
But regardless, this wasn't something that you were. Oh, you can just tell Linda's going to become this. No.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of snuck out of left field a little bit. And now you're here, though, and you're so passionate about it, and you have this way bigger following. I think 60,000 is a huge following, and you know that it keeps increasing a lot by the day for all the right reasons. You have this candidacy. You have the presidential election coming up. You have all these crazy things going on in the world. You're very, very involved in this whirlwind of things going on. And even though you have a way bigger level of confidence when it comes to believing what it is you believe in, it still can tend to have an influence on your life. Mm-hmm. Do you have it in you to kind of detach from that at times and kind of decompress and go on with your life, because you have your own business.
Yeah.
You have different things going on outside of this. But I can see that this has so much root. You know, it plays it. You really do take it like, yo, you fucking with my livelihood. You fucking with my future.
Yeah, I do think there, you know, and I wish more people, and I want people to be aware of that. You don't have to be as involved, and you don't have to be, but you have to be aware. And I think more people are aware. People are seeing ever since COVID and the riots started and this mess that we're in started. I've had so many people. The reason why my account has grown so much is because I have a lot of people who finally woke up and who are aware. I have a lot of people. One of the girls that we were with at the Fontainebleau last weekend, viewers don't know that, whatever, but we hung out for the first time. She just became aware of many things 3 months ago. She's like, oh my God, I'm new to all of this. Like, you know, there's so many people like that. So you are, because we are actually under, what we're also seeing is that we have anarchists and communists who want to take over the U.S. We have communism here in the U.S. and people are saying we're exaggerators. No, that's not how it is. So yeah, you are fucking with my livelihood. When you want to turn this country into a communist regime, when you want to take our freedom of speech, when you want to force us to wear a mask outside, even though I'm walking my dog by myself alone.
Right.
You know, when you're doing things like this, I'm going to take it very personal.
Yeah.
Because you're fucking with my livelihood. This is not like, something else. This is not something that we should take lightly at all. Like, why would you want to live under a dictatorship or a totalitarian state where the government can tell you what to wear on your face? Because if not, they'll give you a ticket. Like, what is that? Oh, it's not a big deal. Wear a mask. I know that. It takes nothing for me to get that.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's not about that. I go to the grocery store. I have a mask. At first I was like fighting with them. Now I just don't give a fuck. And I have like a Trump mask that they get pissed off about. I have a few troll masks that I wear happily,
awesome.
on purpose. If you want to make me work this shit? Okay, fine. I'm going to wear a really fuck. I have one that it's Trump's face. It's his whole body. It's hilarious. And it literally says, because it came from China. And I wear it and people, it's hilarious.
I wish you would have had it right now. I would have been great. I've never seen that.
I have right now. I brought the just red Trump one that I got at the White House last week. Okay. But fine, you're right. It's not a big deal. People, you're so soft. They're like, you don't want to wear a mask. I'm like, you fucking idiot. Excuse my language, but you're an idiot because you don't understand that it started with just a mask at the grocery stores and inside of businesses. Now I can't walk my dog alone. But you might contaminate. You're saying that I'm going to contaminate someone in the middle of my park alone?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh, you should respect businesses. I do. I go to Publix with my mask on. But now you want me to be alone? You want me to Key Biscayne? The city of Key Biscayne is telling people that you need to wear a mask at the beach unless you go in the water.
So how about
it
just makes no sense. I took
grab.
I took my mom and my niece out. We went to Flanagan's.
Yeah.
This is right before Miami just went back to indoor dining. So we've been in outdoor dining for those of you guys listening who are not from Miami. And so we're under this tent, this whatever big ass tent, but we're under this tent. This is Miami. It's fucking hot. We're in the middle of the summer. It's fucking humid as hell.
Even with fans, it doesn't
matter. So we're sitting outside, and it's not even a minute in. We're looking at the menu, and I know that somebody sat behind me, and it's about like 10 feet behind me, and I smell cigarette. And I look at my niece, and I go, Demaya, is somebody smoking behind me? And she looks over my shoulder. She goes, yeah. That guy has a cigarette in his mouth. And I'm like, God damn, bro. It felt like it was right in front of me. It was just punching me in the fucking nose.
Yeah.
And immediately I got mad. Not at that. I got mad. I was like, what is the fucking difference of us being out here to in there when this guy's cigarette smoke is all up in my grill? And the same thing with him, if he cough, if he sneeze, if he whatever, it's the same thing. The air is putting him. What makes it safe? It
doesn't make sense. It's literally such a control and power grab. And they're like these politicians. That's why I hate our mayor. They're power hungry. So I do take it very personal.
Right.
And I have a lawsuit against Miami-Dade. My lawsuit is for the mandatory face mask. We're challenging them on that, on legality. People were pissed off. I had the left pissed off. Miami Herald wrote an article about me. Fox had it. I did an interview with this guy, Andy Slater. He's like Fox Sports or something. And he was like, kind of, taking shots at me. Like, oh, you don't care about people? We have this virus. I'm like, listen, I'm all about legality. I'm all about the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. If you don't like it, too bad. Oh, but grandmas are dying and this and that. And I'm like, the law is the law. We have rights here. This is why we have a constitution. This is why we have this. I am not going to let myself be emotionally driven because whatever reason, and want my rights to be taken away.
Yeah.
What you should do is recommend it. We shouldn't be forced to do anything.
There you go. That's
you should just literally say
that would have solved everything.
That would have solved everything.
Quick.
That would have solved everything.
The viejitos, old people, you should probably stay home. If you got pulmonary issues, stay home. If you got this, you should probably stay home.
You know how easy it is for grocery stores to say, for example, if you don't want us all to mingle together, to say, okay, we're going to have old people, whatever, from which they do, like the first hours of the day to 10 a.m. and then the rest of you guys, they sanitize everything or whatever it may be and they leave. They don't want us to be together. Those people stay home. There's so many services. You have like Instacart for them to, but what, the rest of us, for how long? For how long?
To cause what we talked about earlier, the domestic abuse, the child abuse, all that.
I'm watching pictures of kids back in New York, and they have tents outside, and them sitting on the floor with masks on. So I'm like, my God, like, what is wrong with humanity? That's why I cannot agree with the fact that we have progress mentally. Maybe our technology and everything around us is very easy. I can get food from the touch of my phone. I can pay with that phone. There's so many things that are technologically advanced, but I think that has actually dumbed us down. Like,
of course, without a doubt.
We're mentally handicapped.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the word
Yeah.
But we are pretty much
Yes.
mentally handicapped. Like, we're not. It's not okay that humans were able to be controlled this way over a virus, which we have so many viruses. I mean, thousands of them, and people not understand their immune system. It really shows how weak people are. They dumb you down to the point where they tell you that you're too weak to be able to survive this virus.
Right.
You're too weak.
Right.
If we don't protect you, if you're not home, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. You're gonna kill people. What the hell?
When the
percent
was low with the lies, and it's even 20 times lower now that they're
like
somewhat
nothing.
accurate. Yeah.
Right. It's like nothing. Like
of course.
they just came out saying that 90% of the positive tests weren't really positive. That 90-something% of the people that died with COVID didn't really die with COVID. They didn't really die of it. They died with it. Like there's so many aspects of it. They're not talking about the hospitals in New York that were killing people. What do you mean hospitals in New York were killing people? They would never do that. Listen, the protocol that hospitals were following was that if a patient came in and they say they couldn't breathe after blah, 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 they intubated those people. Once they intubate you, the chances of you dying are a lot harder. Once they intubate you, it's really bad. You can look at statistics before.
A lot harder or a lot easier? You can die a lot
harder.
Easier.
You can die a lot easier.
So easier. Okay, you said harder.
Yeah. Harder to come back, sorry.
Okay. That's why I was like, wait a minute, you meant easier, yeah.
80% of patients in New York in the first month, like I think it was like February, March, and April, or like even May or something, in the first month of COVID, 80% of patients that were intubated died in New York. You know what that tells me? That was a medical error. There was a lot of negligence.
Medical error or some conspiracy.
Right. So the point is that this is not what it seems. Like I've been around people, I've been around people with COVID. I thought I had COVID at some point. Like this was really early on in January because I was really sick and my respiratory.
I'm almost positive I had it in December.
I had it. I think we all, many people said the same thing. Obviously, it was here before we had the first person confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, and how do they confirm it? How did they have a coronavirus test?
They already knew.
Right? They already knew, like, what? Like,
yeah.
we just discovered a new virus. Come on, bro. Well, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, there's definitely something out there. We're not saying it's all a hoax. We're not saying it doesn't exist. But the reality is that everything that we were going through and we went through was not necessary.
So if you want to influence somebody who's going to, give you at least a little bit of all right, I'll hear you out just a little bit. Like, you're not going to get to them with some crazy shit. You're not, how do you convince them not to follow you, but, I know that because I was already somewhat in tuned. Once I saw you with Caballo and then followed and then saw some of your videos, I was like, okay, I like the language that she speaks. What are you going to tell people? Because, most people hear this, even my followers or new followers, they hear this and it might sound good, but if they're too lazy to do the legwork, because that's the thing. If you don't do the legwork to verify, damn it, is Linda telling the truth?
Right.
All that shit sounds good, but she's not seeing none.
And
she's
that's
not,
something that I'm going to work on because, and I'm probably going to have to create a website on WordPress that's not going to be in any of these platforms that might shut me down or something.
Oh, right.
Because I want to put, there's already been a lot of things that are censored from the internet that they have deleted from YouTube, whatever it may be. But I think if you are, I think the people that need to, that follow me, that should follow me or should look into my stuff are people that are looking for a different perspective. If you're just setting your ideals and like you're listening to this right now and you're like, well, she's just crazy, conspiracies, then it's not for you, because I am going to have very challenging content. I'm going to have a lot of things that you may not like. I'm going to have things that you may be offended by, and then I explain to you and you're like, oh shit, I never looked at it that way. It happened with Marcos. It happened with El Caballo. Me and him, there was something that I said to him, and one of the times that we hung out, and he was like, what? Like at first he was just like, gave me like almost like a very strong, like emotionally, response. And I was like, wait a second. Like I kind of like de-escalated the situation. And I said, can I explain myself? Can I tell you why I think that way? Sure. And then I go through it with him, and he's like, holy shit. And like the next time I saw him, he's like, that thing that we discussed? And I was like, yes. And he's like mind blown. Like it like makes sense. Like da 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 da. And I was like, it's not about me wanting to persuade you to believe in some sort of thing. I'm not telling you to believe in Jesus Christ as your savior. This isn't some sort of cult or belief that it's blind.
What's up, folks? Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective, Season 2, baby. If this happens to be your first time watching or listening, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you don't miss another episode. And once again, guys, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, everyone out there, for all the amazing support. And a big shout out to my man Hector and his entire team over there at Driver Shop USA. If you guys follow me on IG or live in this beautiful city of Miami, you'll be able to catch the dope-ass wrap job that was done to my Chevy Colorado truck. Not only did they wrap the entire truck to protect its original paint job, they then slapped on multiple high-quality logo wraps on all sides, so that I can remind those of you who are looking to tune in to the best new podcast. From boats to motorcycles to automobiles of all kinds, Driver Shop USA is continuously redefining luxury. Now let's get back to the podcast.
So, with that being said, if you want to learn a different perspective and you want to bypass the mainstream media, obviously for the past month I've been focusing on COVID, but to your point lately, you know, I tell my followers, and I even have highlights on my Instagram about this, it's about keeping a positive mind and about understanding that we enable to have a positive future and able to have a positive outcome, you know, to have a positive life. So do I detach from social media in that aspect? Yeah. You know, do I go down rabbit holes anymore? No. Lately, I've gone sometimes when I work and I'm doing something at home, I'll put on a podcast or something like that. But you'll be surprised that most of the things that I listen to, like if you go to my YouTube and stuff like that, you'll find a lot of inspirational videos more than anything. You won't find, you know, like
your YouTube list, like what you look up.
I personally look up. Like I'm not there just trying to find more and more and more. And the reason why is because it doesn't matter how much you find now. Like we can't change the future and we can't predict we can't change the past and we can't change the future. We want to know the future because of truth. A lot of it influences how we are now, right? And the reality is that if we understood things from a more spiritual perspective and if we knew how the elite controls us, like I said, and this was at the beginning of the conversation, music, you know, low vibrational music, stuff that we like. Shit, I love Bad Bunny, I love reggaeton, I love J Balvin. I spend money, I've gone to their concerts, I've seen them, but a lot of them talk about, you know, things that are degeneracy,
right.
you know, things that don't empower us. It's fun, it's upbeat, we dance, we have fun, we drink. I'm not telling you it's not a good time, but at the end of the day, it is a lower vibrational type of music, and you have to understand how that affects your psychic. Same thing with like rap and stuff like that. And music has also devolved, you know, from classical music, you know, more romantic stuff. You look at lyrics from back in the day, and it was more beautiful, you know.
So you're basically saying that people unknowingly are letting beats be from music.
Well, it's not just music.
Influence. Well, no, just a little bit. Yeah, everything.
Right. So television, Netflix is propaganda. So a lot of people, like, I don't really watch Netflix that much. I have a subscription, and you know, I'll watch things here and there, but I'm very careful of my consumption of media and stuff like that. So how is it that we can keep our vibration as high as possible? You know. So do I sit there and like watch Fox or CNN for like hours to inform myself? I don't. A lot of the knowledge that I have now, that I'm able to share with people, some of those current events, I will sit down sometimes and see, let me look at this COVID numbers and analyze the CDC website. A lot of it I do, it's more analytical.
Okay.
Right. So it's not, and it interests me. It doesn't put me in a bad mood or stuff like that. Watching too many videos of people being shot is like depressing. Like big that time. Fucking ruins your psyche.
I dodged that.
You know, people getting hit and stuff like that. Like lately with this riots and stuff, that makes you sad. And I tell people that follow me, I'm like, you guys gotta change up your, you know, content and stuff like that. And I've even told influencers before, I called them out. I said, a lot of you guys are putting these people down with all your conspiracies. Some people are talking about, you know, we're going to be like this forever. They're going to chip us. They're going to put us in concentration camps. Like all these crazy things are like, you're putting that into people's heads. Even if you have 2,000 followers, that's
little by little, that affects the world.
Right. And that reaches 10% of your followers. That 10% may be like, oh my God, like we're gonna end up in concentration camps. Yeah. I'm so scared. And like you bring down their emotions, like that emotion of and the spirit of fear. It's it contradicts the spirit of faith and hope and love and like the higher vibration things.
You know, let me cut you off real quick. I had a friend hit me up when I was posting something, just something about the podcast, something about the progression of the podcast or whatever it was, just an update. And got a lot of feedback, good feedback. And then this guy hits me up and, hey man, love to see the positivity that you're spreading, so on and so forth. I'm about that. And I could not hold back, and it's not like I snapped on him, but I told him, hey brother, I love you to death, and I appreciate that. But if you truly believe it, then you need to remind yourself to stop posting so many negative things. So it's like maybe I was wrong that I took a compliment that he shot my way, and I should have just took it, ran with it, thank you, and that's it. But I wanted to remind him that, bro, I don't know how to say this, but you keep posting so much negative shit. And you have a nice following. You shouldn't do that. Yeah. I didn't say all that. I just had my little opportunity and I threw it in there like, then if you truly believe that, then maybe you shouldn't be posting so many negative things. His response was like, yeah, I get it, bro, but it's just that but all right, cool, I get you. And I left it alone after that.
So, and I remind that if you go to one of my highlights on my page right now, you'll see that I think it's labeled fear. And I talk about fear and I talk about how it lowers your vibration and how we all need to manifest a better future and stuff like that. It might sound stupid. You may not believe in it. You may believe in it. You may not believe in it. I'm a believer because I've experienced things that I've thought about it with my mind and it happens.
Question it and give it a chance.
Yeah. So, I'm very diverse in my conversations or my posts. I like to bring humor. You see that my name, I've changed my names a couple times. You see that my @ handle is at Wake Up with Linda, but my name right now, it's Mad Florida Woman.
Oh, no, so I didn't catch that. Notice. Okay,
yeah.
Like in the profile.
Right, in my profile. Okay. So I'm Mad Florida Woman. And one of the reasons why is because, they really hate, like a lot of people criticize Florida. Oh, Florida people.
Oh,
Florida woman. I'm like, bro,
teed off on us. Yeah.
F off. Like, everybody wants to live here, then don't move to our state. Yeah. Don't come here. Don't come to Miami for vacation. You guys are gonna talk shit. So they know Florida people are this.
So often.
Florida people are this. And it's a take on that. And it's also because when the Miami Herald wrote an article about me, they called me, like Florida woman sues Miami-Dade. So I became the Mad Florida Woman. I was mad and I was pissed off. So I'm Mad Florida Woman. And I try to bring things in humorous ways too, just to there's so many negative things going on in the world that I'm like, we gotta laugh at some shit that's going on.
Of course.
Like some shit is actually really funny, like what's going on. Like walk into a restaurant with a mask, sit down, take it off, eat, put it back again, leave. Like what the hell? Like one day we're gonna look back and be like, do you remember when we had to do that?
I hope we get to look back. I mean, it's so crazy. It's almost hard to
imagine the future. But they want us that way.
You're right. This is exactly what you're talking about. They want to
break us down mentally.
Yes, you're right. You're completely right. And that's what kind of makes it scary. It really does. It really does. But it's that same fear factor that makes people want to brush it off and not approach it and not dig deeper and not question it because, oh my God, can you? Hey, no, this is just, and then they just jump temporarily on board bandwagon, But you're definitely trying to put more emphasis on trying to open people's minds to like what's really going out there. And you mentioned several different things of what you've done and the platforms that you're on. So let's make sure that everybody knows any which way that they can follow you, what they can check you out on, what they can help support that you support, anything of that nature. Let's drop a little links, handles, whatever it is that people can go follow you on. Yeah. You're banned from Twitter, bro.
So I'm banned from Twitter. My Ep address is banned from Twitter.
You haven't tried to do another one? How come you haven't tried to do another one?
Because they ban your IP address, bro. They're like crazy. So
you got to get a whole new computer or a whole new address? You got to
get like a VPN and a secure internet connection. And I actually know some people that have gotten on and they have like another phone from the iPads or another device. And then they can't do it from like that phone. It's like this whole mission. So banned from Twitter. So if you want to follow me, I'm active on Instagram, simple at Wake Up with Linda. I funny things, some may piss you off, some may not, but my followers like me. some of them unfollow me or whatever, but definitely a different perspective. And I think I bring another, going back to the Trump thing, I bring another aspect to his supporters too, because it's like it's only white people, racist, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, there's a lot of us, dude. Like, I know people that are black, Indian, gay, straight. Like, there's trannies for Trump, for Trump. Literally, I'm not trying to demean them.
No. I'm
Trannies
with you, yeah.
for Trump, drag queens. Like, not that I'm showing that off or parading it. I'm just saying there's a diversity that the media doesn't like to talk about. And all of us are just we are what we, whether people think we're crazy or not, we are what we consider patriots. We're willing to fight for this country. We're not going to let this country go down into communism, whatever that takes. You can imagine it, what that is. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us out there, and we are we're just trying to bring truth to people.
You definitely highly suggest that if you give a damn about our country and you're in America, you're a citizen.
Unless you want to live in communism and shit.
Go vote and without a doubt vote for Trump. And with all the right reasons.
I also want people to think locally and state-wise, because most of our decisions come from the local government. I want people to be involved locally. I want you to know who your mayor is. I want you to know who your commissioners are. I want you to be more than the president. The president is important. His agenda is very important. Yeah, sure. I don't want to pressure you and say, like, you need to vote for Trump. Right. Of course, I'm going to vote for Trump. Do I think it's the best for the country? 100%. Like, there's nothing you could say that would change my mind. It's either, right now, it's either communism, basically, anarchy, and what we're living that the Democrats support, or law and order, or a greater economy, or freedom. So that's really what it is. It's either communism or freedom, and that's your choice. But I want people to be involved locally. I want you to know, like I said, who's in charge of your school board? What about the, Florida Health Department? Things that affect you locally. What's going on? Like, I've gone through like 3 different counties in Florida during this COVID madness, and I can tell you that these white counties are fucking awesome. And the reason why is because they love freedom.
Right.
They love freedom.
Yeah.
They're not telling anybody that you need to go.
They're on that Texas hillbilly shit. Like, don't come over here with that bullshit.
Yeah, like, don't come over here with a fucking mask, bro. Like, get that away from me. Like, you want to wear a shirt, you don't want to wear, like, it's a level of freedom. Like, they're not following this ridiculous orders. They're just living their lives, and they're like legit, American way. Like, and then that doesn't happen in Miami-Dade. Why? Because of the people that we have elected. So I want people to be involved locally as well, and like take a look at that. Like, why do we have these measurements and the decisions that we have right now is because of the local government.
So I want to make it clear to everybody listening and those watching. Again, like I mentioned way earlier, I've never been a political person, and I don't think I ever will be if you're going to put somebody in a category. But I really have a bigger appreciation for the politics, and as far as talking about the vaccinations and everything else, I've already been on that. Like, I believe in everything you were saying and then some. It's not something that I voice a lot. We talked about this earlier. It doesn't mean it's for the right reasons. It's just the reasons that I choose. I just you got to pick and choose your battles. You only have so much energy. You only got so much time. We were talking about your business on the side and other things that you're doing and the ventures that you're going on, while trying to, you're so passionate about what we've been talking about and I guess the essence of why you were here. Yet you're very responsible, and you know that your business and what you do outside of that is more important, and it needs to take precedence, So it's not like you're some fanatic like some people might think. It's not like you're some conspirator like some people might think. It's a complete opposite. And in my opinion, that's why you're here. You're very
information. I'll tell you about products. Like, I promote some products that my friends. Their brands or whatever that I take naturally, and I'm like, this work for my cough or whatever it may be, and this is how you can heal naturally. I promote other Americans' businesses and stuff like that, but it's not all conspiracies and stuff. I try to be very informational and factual.
Well, I think those who listen to the podcast are getting that drift. You know what I'm saying? Unless you might know better than I do, even though I got a little bit more experience from the world of politics and everything that we've spoken about. You got a lot of very narrow-minded people who don't even want to just give you a fucking chance. But for those who are not that on that tip, I think you definitely open, at least for my viewers, my subscribers, and a lot of my friends. I told you earlier, I want you to tangle a little bit with one of my closest friends and my brother. I think you opened up a lot of eyes, because I know you did for me. I know you did for me, along with Caballo. And I know it makes me want to be a little bit more proactive, without a doubt, at least with exposing, at least with discussing these type of topics and everything that leads up not just to presidential elections, but the different scope of things. Like, we're not trying to go into the rabbit hole, but we do want to, hey, did you guys know? Because we got some great supporting facts behind it. We're not just,
Absolutely.
And I love that fact that you're ready to back it up with, like, hey, when I say it's my opinion, it's my opinion. When I don't, look it up, motherfucker. Look it up. Look it up. And you really been sticking to that. And that's why I asked you a couple of times during the podcast, hey, we can go ahead. Okay, cool. Because I don't want to come off as that person who here's a pretty face and she's just talking some shit and none of it holds any water. No, you're the real deal, Linda. You're real deal, though. And I know that I appreciate you and a lot of other people appreciate you and what you're doing. I hope that everybody listening, watching, guys, give her a follow. Give her a chance. Even if you're fucking leftist, liberal, or against any of the things she says. Even if, you know what, if you want to just hate.
We don't like communists, though.
If you want to hate and just stir some shit up and fucking...
I'll rip you a new ass.
Oh, I love that. That's what I wanted to hear right there. That was the Linda I was waiting for, man.
I will Dracarys you.
She's been what? She's been holding back. But no, seriously, man. Everybody out there, please show some support. Give her some love. Follow her at Wake Up with Linda on Instagram. Anything that she's got coming up is going to follow up with that. Any other links, any other things. I know she's got merch. I know she's got movements. I know she's got things she's part of. She wants to make sure all of that is solid before she goes and exposes it. So
absolutely.
Linda, I really appreciate you so much for coming. One last cheers. Salud.
Cheers.
You are a blessing, a fresh breath.
Thank you.
A breath of fresh air. There you go. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Don't forget about all the important things we talked about. I think the biggest point to take away is question everything.
Literally.
That's it. Question everything. And stop paying attention to the media. Love and peace, everybody. Thank you for listening. Tune in to the next one. Take care. Linda. Thank you, sweetie. Peace.